Chapter 30. Geniuses against geniuses. Without the power of cultivation, it was such a simple punch. However, although it looked simple, it was a punch that combined three desolate physiques, a punch that reached the 20th stage of the martial immortal realm. Save, save, save me. Bailey Yishiong did not even dare to resist. His voice was extremely weak. At that moment, there was only regret in his heart. If he had known that the cockroach was so strong, he would not have attacked Lin Ling in the past. He even blamed his dead son, Bailey Yanwu. Why did he have to provoke such a monster? Savage 18 steps, soldier's blade calamity. When Lin Ling attacked, the heaven's spiritual treasure's attack also arrived. Before it landed, everyone on the ground lay down as if they were attacked by an invisible pressure. However, Lin Ling did not even look at the sky as he punched out with his fist. "You're crazy." Bailey Yishiong knew that he was done for. Lin Ling was willing to risk being injured to kill him. His determination would not change even if the sky collapsed. "I regret it." Bailey Yishiong roared toward the sky. "Cockroach, cockroach, cockroach my ass. This is clearly a divine dragon." Boom! In the next instant, Bailey Yishiong's chest was penetrated by a punch. He looked at his chest with a bitter smile and shook his head helplessly. In the next instant, his body exploded. Looking at the dead Bailey Yishiong, the mouths of the experts trembled. There was only one sentence in their minds: if I, Lin Ling, want to kill someone, not even the gods can save me. It seemed that it was indeed so. Dead, the two strongest half-saints of the Dragon Tooth City are both dead. Beside Indra, the people from the various big clans muttered. They had fought with the Dragon Tooth City for many years but had never been able to defeat them. And now, the Dragon Tooth City was completely submerged in the hands of three young men. "You're courting death." Seeing Bailey Yishiong die, the heaven's spiritual treasure seemed to be humiliated. That was because he thought that since he had attacked, Lin Ling would have to face him with his full strength. However, Lin Ling did not even bother to pay attention to him and killed Bailey Yishiong right in front of him. That was obviously a form of contempt. In the sky, the foot that could trample the wilderness had finally arrived. It was capable of killing all martial immortals. Stomp, this was an extremely rare martial art, but it was like an emperor trembling, with a domineering aura. Clang! Just when everyone thought that Lin Ling would definitely be injured, Lin Ling also attacked. This time, the attack was smoother than usual. There was no need to prepare anything. This meant that after Lin Ling's strength had greatly increased, his control over the mysterious scabbard had become even more perfect. Boom! The foot collided with the giant sword. The Dragon Tooth City, which was already in ruins, turned into ashes. In the sky, the world essence seemed to be boiling, surging and moving. This caused the 10th layer martial immortal experts to tumble in the air like straws, unable to control their bodies. However, they were also staring at the scene of the collision. Then, they were shocked to find that Lin Ling's sword had actually blocked the foot in the sky. Lord Heaven's spiritual treasure is more powerful than Lu Xingyun and Bailey Yishiong. Even if the two of them joined forces, they would not be a match for Lord Heaven's spiritual treasure. However, that fierce dragon called Lin Ling blocked the foot by himself. Moreover, Lin Ling has just killed Bailey Yishiong. Even though he was anxious, he was still able to resist the attack. He is truly a genius. This is a battle between geniuses. However, compared to Heaven's spiritual treasure, that junior called Lin Ling is more like a genius. Everyone was sent flying by the impact, but they still spoke one after another. "That's not how you cultivate the savage 18 steps." Lin Ling held the sword with both hands, still blocking the foot in the sky, and said disdainfully at the same time. His words were undoubtedly like a slap on Heaven's spiritual treasure's face. A junior of the martial immortal realm had actually used a lecturing tone to talk to him. Do you only know how to show off? The savage 18 steps is a great body. Heaven's spiritual treasure was obviously angry. His feet moved in a strange way and repeatedly stepped on the ground, as if a giant was going to stomp on the earth. According to legend, his talent was God's guard. The strength of his feet was extremely terrifying, and he could erupt 50% of his cultivation level strength. Coupled with his second-level desolate body, he did not believe that he could not stomp this cockroach to death. Boom! 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 The ground continued to shake as if the dragon's tongue and teeth had been destroyed. Countless feet stepped on the void. Everyone was floating in the distance, and their faces were filled with horror. Under such a terrifying attack, could Lin Ling still be alive? The savage 18 steps is full of loopholes. How did your master teach you? Did he teach you to eat shit? However, before the terrifying power disappeared, a disdainful voice was heard. On the shattered ground, Lin Ling stood with his sword in hand. Not only did he look fine, but he was also trembling with spirit. How is this possible? Heaven's spiritual treasure's eyes widened. His previous move could not even be blocked by a first-level half-saint, let alone Lin Ling, who was only a martial immortal. He did not know that the martial art he practiced was taught to martial god Qilin by Li Xiaoyao. In terms of familiarity with the savage 18 steps, no one was more familiar than Lin Ling. The martial art was an advanced 7th-level martial art. It was as vast as the universe. However, there were flaws in it. If one could see through the steps, many of them could be broken. A half-saint genius is nothing more than this. On the ground, Lin Ling laughed wildly. The sword in his hand was pointed at Heaven's spiritual treasure. When he heard Lin Ling's sarcastic voice, the Heaven's spiritual treasure, who had been maintaining his composure, no longer remained calm. He had not expected Lin Ling to be even more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. A moment of luck does not mean that it will last forever. The Heaven's spiritual treasure activated the 18 savage steps once again. This time, the sole of the foot was even more terrifying. This was because the sole of the foot was no longer blocking out the sky. Instead, it was condensed in his right foot. His speed was greatly increased as he shot towards Lin Ling like the finishing touch of a dragon. This was a close combat. Moreover, although the foot looked ordinary, it was more powerful than the previous one. The void suddenly exploded as the sole of his foot shot towards Su Kei with the speed of 50 miles. No one could see through the foot. Everyone's faces were grave. Watch me break you. However, Lin Ling was as calm as a mountain. The essence, energy, and spirit in his body merged and turned into a sword. The headless old man appeared strangely. His robe fluttered and his sword was like a clap of thunder. Clang! It was an ordinary sword. However, it stabbed the 12 rain acupoints on the sole of Heaven's spiritual treasure's foot. That was a very small acupoint. Normally, it would not be a big problem. However, Lin Ling knew that after Heaven's spiritual treasure used the foot, that acupoint would be his only weak point. Puff! The soul of Heaven's spiritual treasure's foot immediately deflated. The protective light disappeared and blood spurted out from the sole of his foot. Ah! Heaven's spiritual treasure let out a painful cry. His body flew backward and he spat out blood. Lord Heaven's spiritual treasure is injured. There was no one who wasn't shocked and moved when they saw this scene. They did not expect Lin Ling, who was only a martial celestial, to be able to injure a half-saint genius. Chapter 30-31 Divine Elixir Dance, Light-Slaying Deity Domain. You, a sage to be, are like an ant in front of me. It's impossible for you to defeat me with the 18 steps of the savage wilderness. Clang! Lin Ling held the giant sword diagonally. He knew that his essence, energy, and spirit were disappearing, so he had to make use of this power to pursue the enemy. Therefore, he shot toward the Heaven's spiritual treasure. Seeing that Lin Ling's aura was rising steadily, the crowd felt as if a stone had caused 1,000 ripples. They did not expect that Lin Ling would not only injure the heaven's spiritual treasure, but also take the initiative to attack. The elegance and courage of a martial immortal were likely to be enjoyed by Lin Ling alone. Moreover, the experts did not plan to join the heavenly court because the heaven's spiritual treasure could not even kill the young man. It was not worthy of its reputation. Clang! The crisp sound continued to be heard. Lin Ling and the heaven's spiritual treasure had exchanged hundreds of blows in an instant. The battle was extremely fierce. Enough! Clang! Finally, the heaven's spiritual treasure roared. After colliding with Lin Ling, it floated back hundreds of meters. Its face was extremely ferocious. It did not expect that the young man could understand its 18 steps of the savage wilderness and break them one by one. It had the dragon-slaying saber, but it was as if it could not use it. The feeling of being neither up nor down was worse than being killed. Therefore, it knew that it had to give up the 18 steps of the savage wilderness and use its final trump card. You must die. You must die. Qing Wu Saint-Slaying Pill. Clang! A blood-red elixir appeared in his hand. As soon as the elixir appeared, a sharp murderous aura spread out. It was like a wave that surged around him, causing his entire body to become illusory. It was extremely mysterious. Qin Wu Saint-Slaying Pill, there is no way to refine it. It can only be found in the land of miracles. Seeing that, Lin Ling could not help but become serious. He had heard of that pill before, but he did not expect martial god Qilin to give him such a precious heaven's spiritual treasure. Qin Wu Saint-Slaying Pill, you will not rest until you kill someone. Clang! Among the various cultivators, some of them also let out cries of surprise. Senior, what is the Qin Wu Saint-Slaying Pill? Clang! The people around him were immediately puzzled. This is a killing pill, within it is the power of a deity. Those who consume it will definitely kill. It can continuously increase one's cultivation realm and realm essence, ultimately killing the target. Meanwhile, those who consume this pill will have their lifespan reduced by 10,000 years. The old man said solemnly. This was a pill that cost one's life. It can continuously increase one's realm and realm essence. This was too heaven-defying. Although it was known that pills came at the cost of one's lifespan, a martial artist would always encounter a powerful enemy. When life and death approached, lifespan was obviously not important. Thus, these pills were extremely rare treasures. They could even be called life-saving pills. At this moment, the heaven's spiritual treasure's long hair was dancing wildly, emitting the sound of metal clashing. His eyes looked as if they were dripping blood. He silently chanted an incantation and spat out a mouthful of blood onto the elixir. This caused the elixir to mutate and its murderous aura became even more frenzied. At some point in time, Lin Ling's face had appeared on the surface of the pill. It was like a cursed mirror. This meant that as long as Lin Ling was alive, the effect of the elixir would never fade. This was the power of a deity. Staring at the elixir in his hand, the heaven's spiritual treasure suddenly stuffed the elixir into his mouth. He did not expect that he would have to use such a precious dantian in a place like the Dragon Tongue Tooth. This made him roar like a volcano. He even began to recall. When Lu Xingyun asked martial god Qilin for help, the heaven's spiritual treasure was full of disdain. He thought that Lu Xingyun was too useless and could not even subdue some trash. But now, he finally understood Lu Xingyun's helplessness. The young man in front of him was not a human at all. He was simply a monster. You should be proud to die under this pill. Like killing realm. After the elixir's effect took effect, the heaven's spiritual treasure's body turned blood-red. He smiled ferociously and disappeared on the spot. Whoosh! A strange wind formed nearby as if it had formed some kind of god's realm. Whoosh! The invisible wind was fluttering, but the wind could also kill people. Martial artists who were close to the realm, even if they were at the 10th level of the martial immortal realm, would be killed. Ah! A series of groans could be heard as the bodies of the 10th layer martial immortals continued to fall, as if they were being sliced to death. Most importantly, no one saw who had done it. It's so scary. Is it the wind? The people in the distance were frightened. They retreated frantically, afraid that they would enter the realm. Moreover, as time went by, the wind became even crazier because it was formed by killing intent. Whoosh! A strand of hair in front of Lin Ling's forehead was cut off at this moment. This made his face more and more solemn. Following that, his robe was torn apart. Wounds appeared on his left and right arms. What made him most solemn was that he could not sense the attack of a heaven spiritual treasure. It was as if the entire domain was filled with the existence of a heaven spiritual treasure. This elixir was indeed heaven-defying. Second brother. Brother. Seeing that Lin Ling could not resist at all, Sakura and the others became anxious. Don't come over. Seeing that Sakura and the others wanted to rush over, Lin Ling immediately shouted. If Sakura and the others got close to him, they would definitely die. As for Lin Ling, his body was strong. Obviously, he could hold on for a longer time. Lin Ling is dead. If that elixir doesn't kill Lin Ling, its effect will not fade. According to legend, this elixir was made with the blood of gods. Not to mention the martial immortal realm, I'm afraid that even the middle or late stage of the half-sage realm can be killed. So scary. Yes. That's right. Because the elixir's effect is continuously increasing, it makes the heaven spiritual treasure's realm and strength continuously increase. It seems that Lin Ling is helpless. It's a pity that such a genius has died. The people in the distance started to discuss spiritedly. They kept shaking their heads. They did not expect that the battle would reach such a stage. If Lin Ling didn't die, then the heaven spiritual treasure would be destroyed. It seems that I can only stake it all on one throw. At that moment, Lin Ling did not pay attention to the wounds on his body. Instead, he muttered to himself. According to his current strength, the heaven spiritual treasure was definitely not his opponent. However, the heaven spiritual treasure had such a precious elixir. This was beyond his expectations. Lin Ling, now you know the consequences of offending my heaven spiritual treasure. What a pity, what a pity. If you don't die, you will definitely rise in the spirit province. However, you have no future. A cold voice suddenly exploded in the sky. It was the heaven spiritual treasure's voice. He was very satisfied. Although he sacrificed 10,000 years of his life, he had at least killed a genius. Therefore, he knew that Lin Ling was more regretful than him. Because if Lin Ling didn't provoke him, Lin Ling's future would definitely surpass his heaven spiritual treasure. Don't be too complacent. Hearing that, Lin Ling also said indifferently. Within his body, the dragon bone roared. The power of the dragon god appeared in his left arm. Then, he gently pulled. I see that the people of this world are walking on the boundless earth. They do not know what is going on. They know how to get rid of the law. They know how to enjoy glory and splendor for a few days. Even if they have 1,000 gene of gold, they do not know the poverty of the forest. Chapter 30-32. Heavenly Dragon Arrow, never miss. Second brother, come on. Sakura and the others vaguely saw Lin Ling's movements and knew that Lin Ling was about to use the God Shooter Bow. But very soon, their expressions changed drastically. Because last time, Lin Ling also used the God Shooter Bow, but at that time, his accuracy was too bad. Even Lu Xingyun was not killed. And now, the heavenly spiritual treasure had disappeared. Lin Ling was afraid that even with the God Shooter Bow, he would not be able to hit the opponent. Is this the god shooter bow? Not bad, but I want to see how you are going to shoot me. The heavenly spiritual treasure also noticed Lin Ling's dragon bow and let out a ferocious sound. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, Qing Wu's murderous aura shrouded Lin Ling and constantly cut Lin Ling's body. Obviously, this was also a method that could obliterate gods. A terrible invisible murderous aura attacked, causing the flesh on Lin Ling's legs to disappear, only revealing a pair of white bones. And those were dragon bones, so they lasted longer. This terrible scene immediately made people continue to suck in a breath of cold air. If they were Lin Ling, they would have panicked and tried to find a way to escape. They would not be able to keep calm like Lin Ling. Lin Ling's eyes were focused and cold. The scene of the heavenly dragon soars appeared in his mind. He knew that the arrow on the bow had to be shot. If I don't miss, I will kill him with one arrow. Lin Ling's 10,000 elephant devil eyes and soul power crazily rushed out at this moment. However, his body was getting worse and worse. It seemed that he was only 3 breaths away from death. Second brother. Seeing Lin Ling turned into bones, Sakura and the others roared and almost rushed towards Lin Ling. Lin Ling's right arm had indeed turned into bones, but when he opened his arm, the dragon god roared. The heavenly dragon's protection, the good karma increases day by day. At the same time, Lin Ling's pupils condensed and he gently opened his right arm. Half-saint genius, hand over your dog life. Whoosh! The birth of the speed of 100 realms, the shooting of the heavenly dragon arrow, the worship of 10,000 Buddhas. That arrow was like a streak of time, shooting forward as if it had no destination. However, a strand of terrifying Buddhist dragon light enveloped the entire area, illuminating everything with Buddhist light. This kind of power did not seem to be rank power, but a kind of power that no one had seen before. They knew that this power was very strong, and it made them want to worship it. This brat's divine bow is actually so strong. In the realm of God, the celestial spiritual treasure had actually disappeared. It had turned into a murderous aura, but at this moment, it was still palpitating. Fortunately, although the bow was powerful, it was invisible, so Lin Ling could not kill it. However, just as this thought appeared in his mind, an indescribable power locked onto him, causing him to tremble with fear. Not good. He gave a low shout and weaved in and out of the divine region like gusts of killing wind. However, no matter how he moved, that strand of terrifying power followed him, and it was getting closer and closer. This shocked him greatly. Because, at this moment, he was no longer a human, but a god's killing wind. However, that power could actually follow the wind. Gradually, a sky full of stars appeared in the depths of his eyes, and an arrow like a dragon god appeared in front of him, locking onto his past, present, and future life. No. The celestial spiritual treasure finally knew how terrifying that arrow was. This was not a magical power cultivated by humans, but a magical power cultivated by the dragon race in the era of gods. The celestial dragon's arrow never missed. Rumble. People saw an arrow appear in the sky, and the arrow was like a tide. The surrounding space was shattered, and it was attracted by the arrow, forming a gorgeous tail. The arrow seemed to be shot from the sky, penetrating the invisible god's killing wind, and finally hitting the ground. Rumble. The whole ground instantly cracked, and with the arrow as the center, waves of earth rolled out like a monstrous wave. What a fierce arrow! Retreat! People all retreated. They clearly saw a figure appear in front of the arrow, and it was the celestial spiritual treasure. It should be known that the celestial spiritual treasure was invisible, and it disappeared in the chaos of the universe. However, it was still shot out by the arrow, which showed how terrifying that arrow was. Rumble. Following the final explosion, all the attacks came to an end. In the sky, specks of light sprinkled down like snow. It was an extremely beautiful sight. In this beautiful scene, countless dragon gods were roaring, but gradually, they shattered like glass. Looking at the ground, a huge pit appeared, and a figure was lying in the pit. There was an arrow in his heart, and at that moment, it was rapidly withering. And that person was the celestial spiritual treasure. This scene seemed to shock the world. Bang! At the same time, in the sky, a figure slowly floated down. This figure was also in a very sorry state, and his whole body was covered in blood. In many places, bones could be seen. However, this person did not move his eyebrows, and his character was extremely tenacious. And the most terrifying thing was, as he walked, those wounds slowly healed. And he was Lin Ling. When Lin Ling appeared in front of the celestial spiritual treasure, the celestial spiritual treasure opened its eyes with great difficulty, and its eyes were filled with confusion. A junior of the martial celestial realm had defeated it. It should be known that it was a genius of the sage-to-be realm. You, who are you? Die. The celestial spiritual treasure looked extremely miserable, but it also made a weak voice, as if it wanted to understand everything before it died. Because after learning about Lu Xingyan's news, it had always thought that the three young men were ants, and could not make any big waves. However, it turned out that the three young men were extremely extraordinary, especially the young man in the blue robe. Li Xiaoyao. Die. Lin Ling looked down at the celestial spiritual treasure, and the corners of his mouth moved slightly, and he spat out a sentence. Li Xiaoyao. Die. Hearing this, the celestial spiritual treasure's eyes kept flickering, as if it was searching for something in its mind. Finally, its pupils trembled fiercely. It had only heard the name Li Xiaoyao once in its life, and that was when it accidentally heard its master talking with an expert. It seemed that this Li Xiaoyao was a person that even its master was extremely afraid of, and there was a blood feud between them. However, another expert had also said that Li Xiaoyao was dead. At that time, it clearly saw its master's face relax. But now, Li Xiaoyao had returned. You. Die. The celestial spiritual treasure pointed at Lin Ling as if it was the final radiance of the setting sun, and wanted to say something. In fact, it wanted to tell its master that Li Xiaoyao had returned. Ha, I'll take your dog life. Ha. Lin Ling sneered. Without waiting for the arrow to end the celestial spiritual treasure's life, he raised his foot high and condensed all the remaining realm essence in his dantian into the sole of his foot. 18 savage steps. 18 savage steps. Did you teach this martial art to my master? Ha! Seeing this, the celestial spiritual treasure's pupils trembled. He found that Lin Ling's 18 savage steps was more charming than his own, and even more ancient than his master's. Boom! Chapter 30-33. His name was Lin Ling. Looking at the mighty young man, the entire dragon-tongue-tooth tribe was silent. Half-sages were all dead. And the person who defeated them was only a martial immortal of the younger generation. Most importantly, this person fought against 3 people by himself. Dragon Tooth City has finally met a formidable opponent. Shivers. An ancient cultivator let out a trembling voice. As for the Dragon Tooth City's cultivators, their bodies continued to tremble as if their liver and gallbladder were torn apart. Dragon Tooth City will be completely annihilated today. Eliminate them. Shivers. At that moment, a cold voice came from Lin Ling's mouth, causing the complexions of the Dragon Tooth City's cultivators to change greatly. Kill. Shivers. Indra and the others burst out with soaring battle intent and pounced towards the Dragon Tooth City's cultivators. Wait, Senior, we are not from Dragon Tooth City. Although we were summoned here, we did not plan to join the Heavenly Court. Yes. That's right, we will help you kill them right now. Shivers. Senior, please give me face. Shivers. Afraid of being implicated, the various cultivators all scrambled to speak. Kill them and you will not be at fault. Shivers. With his hands behind his back, Lin Ling softly decided the ownership of Dragon Tongue Tooth. Good. Shivers. Kill them. Shivers. How could the various cultivators dare to disobey? They even joined in the chase in an orderly manner. It was as if the Dragon Tooth City's cultivators were their mortal enemies. With the addition of the various cultivators and the 3 great clans, the number of Dragon Tooth City's cultivators continued to decrease. At that moment, they were undoubtedly filled with hatred. They knew that Dragon Tooth City was finished. As time passed, the earth was dyed red. The groans and cries of pain gradually became softer. The experts from all over the world were gasping for breath as they looked at the cold blue-robed young man. Finally, when they saw the latter reveal a smile, they completely relaxed. As for the people from the various great clans, they excitedly smiled. "Huh, second brother, you are still the fierce one." After a short moment of silence, Indra spoke first. "Lin Ling, you did not disappoint me." Meng Lu caressed his wound and walked towards Lin Ling with a smile. The 3 of them came from Qingzhou, but they encountered the local tyrants of Dragon Tooth City. All of them were as strong as Emperor Qing and as ferocious as gods. However, the 3 of them finally crossed this huge hurdle in a life-and-death battle. Ha! Seeing Sakura and the others, Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh out loud towards the sky. To him, he had accomplished the first step of taking revenge on the heavenly court. Although he was still some distance away from his peak, he had at least killed 2 of martial god Qilin's disciples. Go back. Lin Ling did not plan to say anything else. He called Di Shitian and Dream Flow to leave this place. Looking at the 3 proud figures, the experts from all sides clearly understood what it meant to be a fierce dragon crossing the river. Furthermore, the name of the Dragon Tongue Tooth might not be forgotten even after tens of millions of years. And that name was Lin Ling. After leaving the Dragon Tooth City, the people from all sides were extremely happy. From now on, the Dragon Tongue Tooth region would belong to them. Heroes, we will be leaving this place in 3 days. Although the forces in the Dragon Tooth City have been eradicated, you must be careful of the people from the Heavenly Court. I have a jade token here. If you encounter any trouble, you can inform me immediately. Lin Ling looked at the various clan leaders and said. This was because he was not sure if martial god Qilin would send someone stronger after the death of the heaven's spiritual treasure. Of course, Lin Ling also knew that the Dragon Tongue Tooth would be much safer if he left this place. This was because if martial god Qilin really wanted to take revenge, he would come for Lin Ling. Alright. Hearing this, the various clan leaders nodded. Next, Lin Ling did not leave for the time being. Instead, he recovered. This fierce battle had allowed him to become more familiar with himself. After combining his 4 dantians, he could even defeat a genius in the first heaven of the half-saint realm. This huge improvement made Lin Ling quite satisfied. Moreover, there was nothing in the Dragon Tongue Tooth that was worth his time. It was time for him to rush to Xing Shiyun's side. Xing Shiyun must be very worried about him as he had wasted a lot of time on the Dragon Tongue Tooth. 3 days later, Lin Ling, Sakura, and the others set off on their journey. Before leaving, Sakura looked at the Dragon Tongue Tooth reluctantly and said with a smile, "This place makes me feel a little reluctant to leave." When the 3 of them arrived at the Dragon Tongue Tooth, other than fighting, all they did was fight. In the end, the 3 of them were reborn. The path of martial arts is still very long. If we stop at one place, it means that this is all we can do. So, let's move on. Lin Ling looked at the Dragon Tongue Tooth and then strode forward boldly. After 3 days, a vast plain appeared in front of them as they followed the Dragon Tongue Tooth. The plain was so big that it was beyond Lin Ling's imagination. In the plain, a large number of buildings were built on top of each other, giving off a lively feeling. This is the Spirit Province. Sakura stared ahead and couldn't help but ask doubtfully. Yes, this is the Spirit Province. The Spirit Province is ranked 4th in the 9 states. Unlike the Green Province, they don't work behind closed doors. They have connections with the other divine prefectures. So, if they are famous in the Spirit Province, the other divine prefectures will also hear about them. Meng Lu said with a smile. The Spirit Province was indeed much bigger than the Green Province. For example, not many people in the 9 states knew about the famous people in the Green Province, but many people in the 9 states had heard about the famous people in the Spirit Province. That was the difference. Let's go take a look. Lin Ling smiled. He was the calmest among the 3 of them. This was because in his previous life, after Li Xiaoyao came to the martial god realm, he didn't travel much in the weak divine prefectures. Instead, he left his footprints in the powerful divine prefectures. On the other side, in a mysterious palace, an old man was resting with his eyes closed. Around his body, wisps of divine qi danced like ribbons, making the old man look like a god. Lu Xingyun is dead. Even the heaven spiritual treasure is dead. The old man's face was calm as he suddenly spoke. His words carried an aura that could move heaven and earth. Master, that's all we know. They were all killed by 3 young men. One of the young men is the most ferocious. He killed junior brother Tian Lingbao and the others alone. A woman in her 20s cupped her hands and said. This woman looked ordinary, but she was born with a strange temperament that made people want to get close to her. Apparently, she was the old man's disciple. This old man was martial god Qilin. What's the cultivation of that young man? The old man was still calm. The woman pondered for a moment and finally said, he's a level 5 martial immortal. As soon as she said that, the old man, who had been calm all this time, opened his eyes in vain. His eyes were like stars in the sky, flickering with a trace of surprise. You mean to say that a martial immortal level person of the younger generation defeated 3 half-sages of the first layer, and even defeated a heaven spiritual treasure with a divine pellet? Master, that's the truth. What's his name? Chapter 30-34. Arrived at the Spirit Province. Hearing that, the old man finally frowned. For some reason, he was very afraid of Lin Ling and wished that he could immediately kill him. Find an opportunity and kill him. Have your senior brothers move out and go to the 9 provinces to find him. What? Master, he's only a martial immortal. Hearing that, the woman was shocked. She could see that her master cared a lot about Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling had some ability, he was still only a martial immortal. It wasn't enough for her master to give such a serious order. Disciple understands. However, the woman didn't dare to disobey the order and quickly nodded. After the woman disappeared, the old man was still frowning. Intuition told him that Lin Ling was not simple. Because after hearing Lin Ling's name, his heartbeat clearly sped up. One had to know that he had practiced martial arts for many years and comprehended the great Tao of the universe. There must be some secret that made his heartbeat suddenly accelerate. Do I need to tell her? Forget it. If she knew about such a small matter, she would also laugh at me. The old man muttered to himself and revealed a bitter smile. His daughter had already flown higher and higher. The father-daughter relationship of the past had also faded a lot. He also didn't know why his daughter was like this. Perhaps, powerful strength and the power of gods could make people abandon everything. At that moment, Lin Ling and the other 2 had already entered the prairie. Because the prairie was very large, all the powerful forces of the Spirit Province were gathered here. Through the conversations of passers-by, Lin Ling and the other 2 knew that the 2 largest forces of the Spirit Province were the Secret Sect and the Prominent Sect. Moreover, there was a legend in the Spirit Province that all the martial arts in the world were from the Prominent Sect. Thus, all the sects here belonged to the 2 sects. Moreover, ordinary sects didn't have the qualifications to enter. They needed a certain amount of strength. However, after entering, there were many benefits and an endless supply of cultivation resources. This should be the core of the spirit province. The strength of the cultivators is indeed very strong. I've already seen a few half-saints. Who cares? How are we going to find that constellation cloud now? This place is so big. If we really want to search, I'm afraid we won't be able to find it even after thousands of years. Indra and Meng Lu spoke one after another, and their words also made Lin Ling shake his head helplessly. When Xing Xiuyun left, she left him a jade tablet that recorded the direction, but when he arrived at the spirit province, he discovered that the destination was somewhat vague, and the area was too vast. Let's rest for now. We'll think of a way to ask someone tomorrow. The three of them had just arrived in the spirit province, so they didn't have many acquaintances. Thus, they found an inn to rest in. This inn was quite extraordinary. Its exterior was made of crystal and it was very luxurious. Most importantly, this inn had a spirit formation carved on it. It was an extremely good place to cultivate. And Lin Ling had come for this. As for the lady boss of the inn, she was an extremely attractive and beautiful woman. Her dress was a little loose, and the hem of her skirt was very short. Her slender thighs were extremely alluring, and her chest was faintly visible. This was a feast for the eyes of all the martial artists that entered the inn. TSK, as expected of the great spirit province, there are so many beauties. Indra couldn't help but greedily stare at the lady boss. Big brother, don't mess around. That's an expert of the sage-to-be realm. The aura of a sage-to-be hidden on her body is extremely tyrannical. Lin Ling smiled and couldn't help but say. Those words made Indra's pupils constrict, what a fierce beauty. However, a sage-to-be realm cultivator actually opened an inn. Some people's martial path is different. Perhaps opening an inn is to experience all living beings and finally perfect their talent and martial path. Lin Ling explained, and his words made Indra nod his head. Their conversation wasn't loud, but how could it be hidden from the lady boss? Her beautiful eyes secretly flickered. These three young men were all martial immortals, but they gave her an extremely extraordinary feeling. They were probably peak geniuses. Especially that blue-robed young man, she actually couldn't see through him. Next, the lady boss elegantly walked over and politely asked Lin Ling if he wanted to stay or eat. Lin Ling and the others naturally wanted to stay. This made the lady boss smile tenderly and say, "Your luck is pretty good, the last room is still available. If you came a bit later, I'm afraid it would be robbed by others. Seems like our luck is pretty good. Lady boss, we'll stay for a day." Lin Ling also secretly rejoiced. The spirit formation set up in this inn required a lot of precious treasures, but the cultivation effect was 100 times better than the outside world. Thank you for your patronage, please pay the Emperor Crystals, Earth Room 28. After receiving Lin Ling's Emperor Crystals, the lady boss immediately saluted Lin Ling and the others. She was extremely enthusiastic, revealing the alluring cleavage in front of her chest, making Indra restless. As for Lin Ling, he helplessly smiled and walked towards the second floor of the inn. After a while, the three of them entered the room and immediately found that it was a world of its own. They could even choose their own cultivation scene, which could be in the Green Mountains or in the universe. It was extremely magical. What rich spiritual chi, second brother, aren't you good at spirit formations? If you can set up this spirit formation, the effect will be better than cultivating with Emperor Crystals. I can set it up, but the materials needed for this spirit formation are not easy to get. Then forget it. The three of them ordered some wine and dishes, chatting and laughing as they ate. While they were eating and drinking, several figures walked downstairs. Looking carefully, these people were all young, and their cultivation was at the 6th level of the martial immortal realm. One of them was even an expert at the 7th level of the martial immortal realm. Their auras were extraordinary, and it was obvious that their talents were not weak. "Lady Boss, we're here to see you again." "Oh, young Master Lu is here. Do you want to eat or stay today?" "Hee, we're just here to see you." "Can we do that?" "Young Master Lu, don't tease me. I want to eat and stay." Obviously, it was not the first time that the young man in the lead had come. The eyes of the surrounding martial artists lit up when they saw the jade pendant hanging on the young man's waist. They immediately knew that this young man was from the Xian sect. It's not a big problem to eat, but it's a little difficult to find a place to stay. At this time, the lady boss suddenly thought of something and said with a frown. "Is it full?" "Lady boss, the meeting between the esoteric sect and the Xian sect is about to begin. I'm in a hurry to improve my strength. There are countless inns in the city, but only your inn has the best comprehension of cultivation. So today, I won't leave no matter what." "That's a little difficult. After all, the guests have paid Emperor crystals." "It's okay. I'll give them 3 times the Emperor crystals. Leave it to us. We won't make things difficult for you." Chapter 30-35. Geniuses from the Spirit State. Fortunately, Lin Ling and company were still eating and drinking, so it did not affect them much. However, their moods had turned sour. When the ancient stone door was opened, Sakura looked at the youth outside with an ugly expression. Even Lin Ling looked over. These youths were all wearing standard long robes. They were neat and straight with their long hair tied behind their heads. They looked like descendants of gods, giving off an extraordinary feeling. At least a second-grade desolate body. Lin Ling thought to himself. Give up the room and take these Emperor crystals with you. The leading youth did not even look at Sakura. He threw a large amount of Emperor crystals behind him as though they were alms to Lin Ling and company. It's like this. The lady boss also appeared and spoke apologetically. However, she was interrupted by the young man in the lead. Lady boss, we won't make things difficult for you. We won't give you any less than you deserve. The 3 of you should leave this place. Clearly, he did not dare to offend the lady boss, so he gave 3 times the Emperor crystals. I'll give you one word, scram. Sakura was stunned. He looked at the Emperor crystals on the ground and immediately roared angrily. His mood instantly turned sour because they were eating and drinking. Then, these people suddenly interrupted them and threw out Emperor crystals like they were beggars. Were they trying to humiliate them? Even if it was 3 times the Emperor crystals, Sakura was not interested in them. Sakura's sudden words undoubtedly stunned everyone. The person behind the youth could not help but laugh. You want us to scram? Even the warriors passing by laughed mockingly because they knew that these youths were from the Xian zone. Being able to enter the Xian zone explained everything. These 3 guests have quite the background. In my opinion, you'd better check out. The lady boss was helping Lin Ling and company. As they had offended the Xian zone, unless Lin Ling and company did not leave the inn for a day, they would definitely suffer revenge. And when that happened, she would not be of much help. Thank you, but we've taken a liking to this room and don't plan to leave. So, lady boss, you don't have to say anything. We'll settle it ourselves. At this moment, Lin Ling spoke up as well. He then looked at the youths and said, I'll give you toads 10 breaths time to scram. Otherwise, we'll throw you out. When he said this, everyone was stunned again. That was because the crowd saw that Lin Ling and the other 2 were all in the middle stage of the martial immortal realm, whereas the young men from the Xian Zong sect were all in the 6th stage of the martial immortal realm, and there were even some in the 7th stage of the martial immortal realm. With such strength, they were actually telling them to scram. They were simply arrogant. I've been in the spirit province for many years, and this is the first time I've heard someone speak to me like this. I want to see how you're going to make us scram. Lady boss, you saw it yourself. I didn't do it on purpose, but the other party was too arrogant. The young man in the lead laughed, his eyes filled with disdain. "You three country bumpkins, I'm afraid you don't know his name. He's Xia Lu from the rank 7 Divine Machine sect." The others said disdainfully. When they reported the origin of the young man in the lead, the eyes of many cultivators flickered. A rank 7 Divine Machine sect, even in the Xianzong sect, was not simple. 1. 2. However, Lin Ling directly ignored them, and calmly reported the number. Sakura and Meng Lu also smiled. They crossed their arms over their chests and looked at them calmly. "Report it, report it. I want to see what you can do after 10 breaths' time." The leader, Xia Lu, coldly snorted. He seemed to have started to get angry. "There's no need for them to report. Brother Xia Lu, I'll teach them a lesson for you." However, someone seemed to be impatient. That was because people in the 5th stage of the martial immortal realm dared to be so arrogant. They simply didn't know what it meant to be a genius of the spirit province. After he finished speaking, that person attacked. The moment he attacked, he used the power of his cultivation level, as if he was a god. Space-severing finger. As he shot out a finger, even the void was blocked. It was extremely sharp. Old Man Space-Severing's famous work. The pupils of the people beside him fiercely trembled. Those youths were all very strong. Although their cultivation levels weren't high, they were existences that couldn't be underestimated in the martial immortal realm. "That's all you've got." However, at that moment, Sakura also attacked. White bones appeared, and the desolate body roared. Boom! The two of them collided. If it was in the chaos of the universe, it would definitely cause a huge storm. Bang! 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 In an instant, that youth staggered backwards, and his expression changed greatly. He didn't expect that the guy with the talent of white bones would be so strong. How could he know that Sakura was a genius who could fight against a half-saint? "I've underestimated you. Move aside, I'll do it." Xia Lu's eyes couldn't help but become more serious. He knew that he had encountered a genius of the martial immortal realm. Such a genius couldn't be measured by common sense. Fortunately, he was also an unparalleled genius. Buddhist sword, shaking the 9 heavens. A huge golden sword appeared behind Xia Lu. That person actually had the talent of the sword, and his cultivation level wasn't low. That was a 2nd stage desolate body. He extended his right arm, and on his palm, realm essence condensed into a sword. His cultivation level power had reached 20%. Comprehending 20% of cultivation level power in the martial immortal realm, that was indeed terrifying. "Big brother, let me do it." Seeing that, Lin Ling said indifferently. He knew that Sakura wasn't weaker than Xia Lu. However, if he wanted to win, he would need to put in some effort. It would be a waste of time, so Lin Ling finally walked over. "No matter who comes, you'll lose." Xia Lu glanced at Lin Ling and said disdainfully. The sword in his hand shot out like a dagger. At that moment, Lin Ling activated his 4 dantians, and various talents fused into his left arm, and punched out. Clang! Under countless gazes, the golden sword collided with Lin Ling's fist. Even though there was a barrier in the room, at this moment, the barrier was still tumbling like waves. "Humph, overestimating yourself. Brother Xia Lu has a 2nd stage desolate body, and also has 20% of the Buddhist sword. Not to mention a 5th stage martial immortal, even a peak martial immortal wouldn't be a match for him. Moreover, he was once undefeated by a half-saint." Seeing the collision between the two, the other youths sneered, and they were extremely confident. "Gotcha." However, at that moment, a crisp sound suddenly rang out. The invincible golden sword that represented the power of the Buddhist god was cleanly shattered. At the same time, an ominous aura gushed out, and a gust of wind swept over. It appeared in front of Xia Lu, and a punch landed on his chest, causing him to vomit blood and fly back. He crashed into the barrier in the corridor, and the barrier of the entire inn started to roll. This scene undoubtedly caused everyone to be greatly shocked. They didn't expect that the fifth-stage martial immortal youth would be able to send Xia Lu flying. One must know that Xia Lu was a genius, and not an ordinary martial immortal. Even the eyes of the inn's proprietress flickered. Although Lin Ling's punch seemed ordinary without any cultivation-level power, the ferocity of the realm essence gave her the feeling of a half-saint. Chapter 30-36. Divine Tactics Sect Leader, Dream of Divine Tactics. If you are a genius of the Spirit Province, then the geniuses of the Spirit Province are too disappointing. Lin Ling looked down at the young man. His face was as calm as an ancient well, without any arrogance or complacency. Such an expression undoubtedly caused the eyes of the surrounding people to flicker. What a proud young man! How could I have lost? Xia Lu shook his head continuously. He had actually lost to a nameless person. This was a great humiliation. I am a member of the Xian sect. If you dare to injure me, you can't leave here. Capture him for me. I will recommend whoever captures him to the Xian sect. Then, Xia Lu roared hysterically. His eyes were red as he looked at the surrounding people. Do you think you are a god? Others will listen to you. Seeing this, Lin Ling said disdainfully. However, the eyes of the surrounding cultivators flickered. One of them, a second-layer half-saint, frowned and looked at Xia Lu. Sir, you are not lying to us, right? Yes. Xia Lu immediately laughed and nodded. Don't worry. As long as you capture him, you will also be a member of the Divine Tactics sect. You will also be a member of the Xian sect. Yes. Good. The old man smiled excitedly. The others were the same. It could be seen that in the Spirit Province, every cultivator wanted to become a member of the Xian sect and the Mi sect. They were willing to go through water and tread on fire. Do you see? Trash, scum, coward. You want us to get out. You are not qualified. Yes. The surrounding experts walked out one after another. This made Xia Lu extremely excited. He almost danced with joy. This scene also made Lin Ling and the other two frown. They did not expect the name Xian sect to bring about such a huge reaction. Little friend, sorry for the offense. Yes. Moreover, there were many people who wanted to capture Lin Ling. Many of them were half-saint experts. Most importantly, the old man from the very beginning had already made his move. His cultivation level was extremely powerful, causing Lin Ling's eyes to flicker slightly. However, he didn't panic at all. He was also prepared to erupt with all of his trump cards. Dream flow, I don't know if our luck is too bad, or if we're born to attract hatred, but we've just arrived in the Spirit Province and we've already met another opponent. Sakura and Meng Lu also looked at each other and entered battle mode. Although there were as many experts as there were clouds here, they had long been accustomed to the scenes of daily battles along the way. At worst, it would be the same as in the Dragon Tongue Fong. If they couldn't win, they would escape and make a comeback at that time. But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Wait, who gave you the jade pendant hanging on your waist? In the blink of an eye, the old man suddenly stopped attacking, and his expression quietly became serious. Lin Ling was stunned when he heard this. He followed the old man's gaze and realized that the old man was staring at the jade token hanging from his waist. This jade token was really left behind by Xing Xian. My master. Lin Ling frowned and said. Your master. The old man's pupils changed. The word Xing was engraved on the surface of the jade token. If he remembered correctly, this seemed to be the identity jade token of one of the four heavenly kings of Tantra, Xing Xian. This kid was Xing Xian's disciple. With that thought, the old man's heart roared. Xing Xian was extremely famous in the spirit province. He was an old monster immortal, and his disciple was obviously not someone ordinary people could provoke. Compared to Xing Xian, this 7th grade divine machine sect was simply a fart. Catch him. What are you doing, a bunch of trash? At this moment, Xia Lu was still unaware of the old man's change, and he let out an angry roar. Hee hee. Hearing this, the old man laughed and said indifferently, "Little friend, how do you want me to teach him a lesson?" "Of course, give him 300 slaps. I want him to crawl out on his knees." Xia Lu thought that the old man was talking to him, so he said sinisterly. After he finished speaking, he laughed loudly, and the few young men beside him also laughed. However, Lin Ling saw that the old man seemed to be talking to him. This made him somewhat suspicious. Could it be that the jade pendant that Xing Xian left him had some great power? Without thinking too much, Lin Ling laughed and said, "As he wishes, give him 300 slaps and make him crawl out on his knees." Ha! Hearing Lin Ling's words, Xia Lu and the others were the first to laugh. "Big brother Xia Lu, try giving me a slap and see if I'm deaf." There was even an exaggerated young man who put his delicate face in front of Xia Lu. Slap. Xia Lu gave him a clean slap, telling the young man that he did not hear wrong, and that those country bumpkins were indeed stupid. Ha! That young man did not care about the stinging pain on his face, and laughed loudly again. In fact, even the lady boss was extremely suspicious. According to convention, these loose cultivators should give face to the tantric sect, so Lin Ling and the other two should be in trouble, but they were too calm. "Come, give me 300 slaps." "I think 300 slaps is too little, how about 500? Xia Lu straightened his neck and clamored like a duck. However, just as he finished speaking, the old man sneered and finally made his move. He was in the 2nd tier of half-saint. When he attacked, the aura of a saint was extremely powerful. It was like a strong gust of wind that swept through the summer. It was obvious that he was an existence similar to a sect master in other places. He could preach Tao and benefit martial artists greatly. Pa pa pa. As you wish. The crisp slapping sounds continued to ring out. The old man's attacks were swift and decisive. How could Xia Lu and the others block them? The thunderous slapping sounds directly stunned Xia Lu. The others were dumbfounded as well, and they were flabbergasted. 500 slaps. I definitely won't give you any less. The old man shouted in disdain. At this moment, it wasn't just the lady boss, even the other independent cultivators were extremely suspicious. However, many of them were cunning and couldn't help but look deeply at Lin Ling. After they quietly noticed the jade token on Lin Ling's waist, they seemed to have guessed something. "Old Lu, don't finish, leave a few slaps for me." Slap. The other independent cultivators also pounced on Xia Lu. This caused Xia Lu's face to be slapped like a meteor shower, and he was about to faint. Enough. Slap. When Xia Lu was beaten until he was lying on the ground and vomiting blood, a middle-aged man in his 40s slowly appeared on the stairs of the 2nd floor. He was wearing a starry sky robe, and his aura was extremely unfathomable. The sect master of the Divine Tactics sect has entered the Divine Tactics realm. Seeing this, the others stopped attacking and looked indifferently at the middle-aged man. At this moment, they felt as if they had entered a dreamland where their lives and deaths were dictated by someone. Of course, the independent cultivators present were not weak, and they quickly recovered. They knew that the middle-aged man had the ability to control other people's dreams. This was also the power of a god. "Why did you teach my disciple a lesson?" The middle-aged man placed his hands behind his back and looked at the crowd as if he was denouncing them. "Master, kill them." Slap. Chapter 30-37. Xing Xian's reputation. This was the first time he had suffered such humiliation after coming to the spirit province, especially when those rogue cultivators suddenly turned against him. This made him feel like he had been deceived. He just didn't believe that those 3 country bumpkins were nobler than him. "Don't worry, Master will uphold justice for you." "Yes." The middle-aged man was clearly furious, and his voice became much colder. "If you don't give me an explanation, then don't blame me for being impolite." "Yes." Although these lone cultivators were not weak, he was from the Xian sect. If they provoked him, it would be the same as provoking the Xian sect. These trashy lone cultivators would definitely not dare to do so. However, that was the truth. The lone cultivators were all silent. Hee, very impressive. Take a look for yourself. Yes. However, the old man, who had been the most vicious earlier, smiled without a care at this moment. Moreover, his gaze was also cast towards Lin Ling and the jade token on Lin Ling's waist. "If you don't have a good explanation, you can't leave here." "Yes." The middle-aged man snorted and looked at Lin Ling. Finally, his gaze landed on the jade pendant. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that the jade pendant was real, and there were also some in the Xian sect. However, there were not many of them, only 4. The holders represented the spirit provinces Mount Tai and Big Dipper. They were all immortals. At that moment, he was stunned. Xing, character. He had the jade pendant of the 4 heavenly kings, and the word Xing was carved on the jade pendant. Could it be Xing Xian of the Tantric sect? Could it be that these brats were related to Xing Xian? Xing Xian was the most powerful immortal-level martial artist in the spirit state. If these brats were related to him, then this matter would become troublesome. Thinking of this, the middle-aged man lost his previous arrogance. Instead, cold sweat appeared on his forehead. "Master, I'm going to give him 1,000 slaps and make him scram." However, Xia Lu thought that his master was here and that it was time for him to hold his head high. At that moment, he screamed again. The lone cultivators from before were outsiders and could not be relied on at critical moments. That was normal. However, this time, it was his master who was here. He could definitely be relied on. "You bastard." However, things went beyond Xia Lu's imagination. His master was also unreliable. Slap. A crisp slap sounded on Xia Lu's face. He was stunned again. He was dumbfounded. The other youths were also dumbfounded. Why was everyone hitting them today? Furthermore, it was one thing for the rogue cultivators to hit them since they weren't on the same side. However, their master, who had always doted on them, was also hitting them. What exactly was going on? "Xia Lu, give yourself 1,000 slaps, then get out of here. If you miss a single slap, I'll break your legs." The middle-aged man shouted at Xia Lu, his attitude extremely domineering. Seeing this, the crowd was also extremely astonished. They had never expected that such power would ultimately land on Xia Lu. Even Lin Ling and the others were puzzled. However, Lin Ling looked at the jade tablet on his waist thoughtfully. Could it be that the constellation clouds were very famous in the spirit province? "Little friend, if 1,000 slaps aren't enough, then 3,000. You'll definitely be satisfied today. This bastard disciple of mine isn't strong, but he loves to cause trouble. I hope you won't take it to heart." At this moment, the middle-aged man looked at Lin Ling. His tough attitude was gone, replaced by a smile. It was an obsequious smile. "Fuck, what's going on?" This scene caused Sakura and Meng Lu to be even more confused. On the other hand, Lin Ling smiled faintly. "I'm a very easy person to talk to. There's no need for 3,000 slaps, right? 2,000 or so should be enough." Hearing this, the pupils of the surrounding people trembled. Was this still considered easy to talk to? 2,000 slaps. God knows how long it would take for this to happen. Bastard, hurry up and thank me. Unexpectedly, the middle-aged man immediately nodded and looked at Xia Lu as if he was reprimanding him. Xia Lu was on the verge of tears. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he knew that he had definitely kicked an iron plate. I'll get out, I'll get out. Next, he didn't hesitate at all. After giving himself a few hundred slaps, he rolled out of the second floor like a gourd. His appearance made everyone cover their mouths and laugh. Little friend, 2,000 slaps, I'll supervise him to complete it. Not a single slap less. Seeing his disciple rolling away, the middle-aged man looked at Lin Ling again. His gaze was sincere, as if he was deeply afraid that Lin Ling would still pursue today's matter. I don't like to cause trouble, so let's just leave it at that. Looking at the middle-aged man indifferently, Lin Ling didn't intend to cause any trouble. However, he was even more curious about the jade pendant at his waist. As expected of a young and promising person. With such courage, your name will definitely shake the spirit state. The middle-aged man seemed to exhale lightly, then flattered him. His words clearly expressed his attitude. This meant that he was wary of Lin Ling. Next, the middle-aged man didn't dare to stay. After a few polite words, he left. After the group of people disappeared, on the second floor, the crowd was still looking at Lin Ling and the other two in awe. Especially the gorgeously dressed lady boss. She was the most surprised because even the sect leader of the Xian sect's rank 7 sect was polite to this young man. This young man was definitely in existence like an emperor. Little friend, your master is Xing Xian. I wonder if he can bring us to the tantric sect. Not long after, the first old man finally revealed Lin Ling's identity. Master? Xing Xian's disciple. Some of the people who didn't know the situation suddenly realized and inhaled sharply. You're the disciple of Lord Xing Xian, who was the talk of the town a year ago. Even the lady boss's beautiful eyes narrowed. Now she finally knew why Meng Xinji's attitude changed. It turned out that this young man's background was not small. Seeing this, Lin Ling was also very surprised. He smiled bitterly and said, "Is that old man Xing Xian very famous in the spirit state?" Old man. Hearing this, everyone's eyes trembled. In the Qing state, only this young man dared to call Lord Xing Xian that. Not only is he famous, but he also represents half of the sky in the spirit state. Tantric sects rank 1 to 10 sects only needs to raise his arm and shout, and everyone has to listen to his orders. If he sleeps in the spirit state, he only needs to turn his body slightly, and the entire spirit state will be shaken. A year ago, Lord Xing Xian suddenly announced to the entire spirit state that he had recruited a disciple. At that time, the entire spirit state was stirred up. That's right, that's right. However, Lord Xing Xian waited for a year, but that disciple did not appear. This caused the other 3 heavenly kings of the tantric sect to laugh at him. After all, Lord Xing Xian did say that he was recruiting the number 1 genius of the 9 states. Tisk tsk, I didn't expect Lord Xing Xian to be waiting for you all this time. A series of stern voices could be heard. This time, even the usually calm Lin Ling's heart pounded wildly. He did not expect Xing Xian's identity to be so great, and to think so highly of him. By the way, the tantric sect's grand ceremony is starting again. This time, you better not miss it. Because you didn't come last year, everyone was extremely disappointed. Many people wanted to see how Xing Xian's disciple is like. The old man said again. Alright, I'm going to look for Xing Xian anyway. Please lead the way. Chapter 30-38. They had arrived at the tantric sect. There's no need to lead the way. Everyone knows where the tantric sect is. But since you've asked, we're willing to serve you. The itinerant cultivators scrambled to be the first to speak. The group immediately left the inn and walked along the main street. Not long after, a huge valley appeared in the plains. In the valley, ancient buildings were built layer by layer, giving off the vibe of the ancient gods' era. This is said to be the land of miracles of the ancient gods. The old man explained as they stood at the edge of the valley and looked down. It's indeed extraordinary. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He sensed ancient clouds drifting in the sky above the valley. Let's go down. After that, Lin Ling led the way. There was a giant staircase at the side of the valley, winding down all the way to the valley. When the group entered the valley, the first thing they saw were more than 30 giant statues. These were the Mount Tai and Big Dipper statues in the history of Tantric Buddhism. Lin Ling saw Xing Shiyun's appearance on one of the statues. It seemed that the group did not lie to him. Xing Shiyun indeed had an extraordinary status in the Tantric sect. Hurry up, the Tantric sect ceremony is about to begin. We can't be late. However, the valley was rather quiet. Instead, there were groups of martial artists running forward, and they could even vaguely hear their voices. Today is the Tantric sect ceremony. Not only will there be generous royal crystals as a reward, but there will also be a martial arts competition for geniuses from rank 1 to rank 10. I'm looking forward to it. Apart from this, there's also the matter of Xing Shiyun's disciple. Master Xing Shiyun will definitely use this opportunity to publicize how amazing his disciple is. Anyway, Master Xing Shiyun exaggerated last year, but he still couldn't meet his disciple. Exactly. I heard that Master Xing Shiyun even made an agreement with the sect master of the first-grade divine sect, the fairy sect's top beauty, Longyang, to marry his disciple. I'm so envious of Master Xing Shiyun's disciple. Longyang's beauty is obvious to all. Upon hearing these voices, Lin Ling's pupils constricted. Even Sakura and the others were the same. This Xing Shiyun was too good to Lin Ling. She was simply treating him like her own son. Lin Ling hadn't arrived yet, but he had already helped Lin Ling win the title of the #1 beauty of Tantric Buddhism for Lin Ling. Who are you? At this moment, a group of people wearing long robes arrived. There were about a dozen of them, and they were all experts of the initial stage of the half-saint realm. Do not barge into the Tantric sect. Violators will be killed. One of the cold-looking middle-aged men spoke directly. His words caused the expressions of the old man and the others behind Lin Ling to change dramatically. Hold on, I'm Xing Shiyun's disciple, Lin Ling. Lin Ling glanced at those people and said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Ling clearly sensed that those people's pupils changed drastically. There was even a hint of reverence in their eyes. Your Excellency, you must know that this is no small matter. If you deceive us, not only will you die, but your family in the realm you're in will also be destroyed. The middle-aged man in the lead said solemnly. I think this is enough proof. Lin Ling smiled and took out the jade token from his waist. As soon as the jade token was taken out, those experts were no longer in reverence. Instead, their bodies trembled slightly, and their gazes were fixed on Lin Ling. This is the Lin Ling that everyone in the spirit state is talking about. Please follow me. Then, those people's attitudes changed significantly. Sure, but what about them? Lin Ling looked at the people behind him and said. It's fine. Since they came with you, they are also from Tantric Buddhism. Alright, thank you. Then, Lin Ling followed the group of people forward. Meanwhile, behind Lin Ling, those itinerant cultivators' breathing quickened. As expected, Xing Shiyun's disciple had the absolute right to speak in Tantric Buddhism. At that moment, in the middle of the valley, there was a martial arts stage that could accommodate up to 1 million people sitting on the ground. It was packed with people. Moreover, there was no lack of experts there. There were also quite a number of middle-stage half-saints. Moreover, the martial arts stage was divided into several areas. Each area had a banner that represented the sects from rank 1 to rank 10. It was also the absolute combat power of Tantric Buddhism. At that moment, on the martial arts stage, the geniuses from various sects were fighting against each other, causing cheers from all around. Looks like this year's geniuses are getting stronger and stronger. On a high platform, 6 figures sat calmly. They were not young, and their hair was white. However, they exuded the aura of immortals. They were the most powerful people in charge of Tantric Buddhism. Other than the 4 heavenly kings, there was also the master of Tantric Buddhism and the deputy master. Even the leaders of rank 1 to rank 10 sects were not qualified to sit on the same level as them. This meant that in the spirit state, these 6 people were definitely the top existences, especially the master of Tantric Buddhism. He controlled the ancient power of the spirit state and ruled the spirit state with Master Xian Zong of the prominent sect. These seedlings are not bad. In the silence, the master of Tantric Buddhism suddenly laughed, causing the others to smile and nod. Xing Xian, are you still thinking about your disciple? Then, the master of Tantric Buddhism saw that one of them was silent, so he immediately asked slowly. He had been friends with the 4 heavenly kings for many years. In the past, the 4 heavenly kings had helped him conquer Tantric Buddhism. Therefore, he treated the 4 heavenly kings like his own brothers. Therefore, when he saw that Xing Xian was unhappy, he could not help but want to console him. That's right. The world is so big. Perhaps your disciple doesn't want to come because he doesn't want to. If you really want a disciple, I can introduce him to you. Also, if you see any good seedlings in the various large sects, just say the word, and someone will definitely become your disciple. That's right. This guy called Lin Ling is already 2 years late. He's already wasted your efforts. He's too much. In my opinion, you're too arrogant, Xing Xian. Your disciple hasn't even arrived yet, and you're already bragging so much. How can your disciple not feel pressured? After all, your disciple comes from Qing state. There are actually no strong cultivators in that place other than the Azure Emperor. The other 4 heavenly kings also spoke one after another. Bullshit. I don't care anyway. I must take him as my disciple. If he doesn't come today, I'll go look for him tomorrow. However, no one expected Xing Xian to be so stubborn. Also, my disciple isn't even afraid of the dragon god. How can he be afraid of pressure? You're underestimating my disciple. Then, Xing Xian glared angrily at his old friend, causing the latter to smile bitterly. Speaking of his disciple, Xing Xian's usual calmness disappeared. Alright, alright, alright. I'll give in to you. I'll give in to you, alright. One of the old men waved his hand and said, but he also smiled and said, although we brothers give in to you, the Tantric Buddhism sect doesn't. I heard that in the past year, the disciples of the various large sects have been very jealous of your disciple. In reality, that was indeed the case. Although the battle on the battle platform was intense, many people were quietly looking at the high platform and listening to the words of the Tantric Buddhism sect seniors. Chapter 30-39. He's finally here. There were 10 great sects in Tantric Buddhism, and many of their disciples wanted to become Xing Xian's disciple. However, they all failed in the end. Some even knelt for 3 whole years in Xing Xian's mountain range, begging not to become his disciple, but only to become his disciple. However, they still failed. This made everyone realize that there was no such thing as reaching the heavens in a single step in the martial Tao. To become a disciple of a saint, 10 years of sincerity was the most basic requirement, and 100 years of focus was the only way to open the door. However, last year, Xing Xian suddenly announced that he had found a disciple. That disciple did not kneel for 10 years, nor did he kneel for 100 years. Then, he became the disciple of one of the 4 heavenly kings, so how could they not be jealous? Humph, I heard that guy is from the Qing state, the smallest divine land. I think he won't dare to come. I think so too. When he sees how amazing the geniuses of the spirit state are, he will definitely feel inferior. Many young men around the stage whispered. However, at this moment, a large number of figures arrived at the side of the stage. One of them was a blue-robed figure, which stunned Xing Xian on the stage. Then, he became excited. He's here, the brat is finally here. Who are you? Don't you know that today is the Tantric Buddhism ceremony? Why are you late? You're looking down on Tantric Buddhism. At this moment, an angry roar was heard. The experts in charge of guarding Tantric Buddhism stood up one after another. However, the newcomers were all silent. Instead, a smile appeared at the corners of their mouths. Moreover, they were all looking at a young man in blue robes. That young man was staring at the constellation clouds on the high platform. In the end, he shook his head helplessly. A soft voice boomed in everyone's ears like thunder. Xing Xian's disciple, Lin Ling, has arrived. The sudden voice caused the millions of experts on the vast platform to fall silent instantly. It was as if the strongest realm monarch of the spirit state had arrived. The silence continued unabated. Even Sakura and the others were shocked. They did not expect Lin Ling to be so famous in Tantric Buddhism before he even arrived. Xing Xian's disciple. On the high platform, Xing Xian smiled excitedly. He had been waiting for this sentence for 2 whole years. Moreover, that bold statement made Xing Xian extremely proud. This is my true disciple. This stinking brat, doesn't he know that making master wait for 2 years is a heresy? Then, Xing Xiaoyun scolded jokingly. Of course, he looked like he was scolding, but everyone around him knew that this old man was extremely happy at this moment. Longnyang, is that your future husband? He's quite good-looking. At a corner of the martial stage, a voice rang out from a sect full of beauties. Numerous outstanding beauties stared at the blue-robed young man with a large sword on his back. These beauties were absolutely stunning no matter where they were. This was the fairy sect. The fairy sect was also the most desirable sect of Tantric Buddhism. Humph, what's the use of being good-looking? This world is all about strength. I can tell that he's only at the martial immortal realm from his aura. Many people from rank 1 to rank 10 sects can defeat him, let alone the geniuses of Tantric Buddhism. But soon, a beauty pouted her Hongyan lips and said disdainfully. I think you're just jealous because Xing Xian's disciple is married to Sister Longnyang, not you. Someone retorted. I wouldn't want trash like him even if you gave him to me. He's just relying on master's reputation. The beauty who spoke earlier was still sarcastic. On the contrary, the most stunning girl among the group of extremely beautiful flowers was silent. Her beautiful eyes, which seemed to be able to speak, stared curiously at the blue-robed young man. Their conversation was not soft, causing the surrounding sects to whisper to each other. Some of the youths, in particular, stared at Lin Ling with hostile gazes. It was undeniable that Lin Ling had captured all the attention of Tantric Buddhism as soon as he arrived. This made them extremely jealous. Looks like he's quite capable. One of the top geniuses from a rank 3 sect harumphed coldly. He must be the top genius of Qingzhou to be able to come here from Qingzhou. He's quite capable, but I think that's all there is to it. Level 5 Martial Immortal Realm. He's only at the middle stage of the Martial Immortal Realm. I think even an early stage Martial Immortal Realm cultivator can defeat him. The other people's voices were full of jealousy. Without a doubt, the entire square was in an uproar. It was as if Lin Ling's arrival made him the star of the day. At the end of the day, it was because Xing Xian was too famous. So this is Elder Yun's disciple. You're indeed good-looking. Go and sit in the orange seat over there. Finally, the Lord of Tantric Buddhism stood up and smiled at Lin Ling. His attitude was not arrogant, but of course, it was for Xing Xian's sake. Orange seat. Everyone was shocked to hear that. That was because that was where the sect leaders of rank 1 to rank 10 sects sat. This meant that Lin Ling's status in Tantric Buddhism was the same as the sect leaders. Lord of Tantric Buddhism, senior brother Lin Ling is late for a year. He made us wait for a whole year. I think he should be punished. At that moment, a laugh was suddenly heard. The person who spoke was a young man with disheveled hair. He had an unruly aura. Most importantly, he was the champion of the martial arts competition. What did you say? However, Xing Shiyun said coldly as soon as he finished speaking. His blatant protectiveness undoubtedly made the others even more jealous. Hee, I was just joking. After all, today is the Tantric Buddhism grand ceremony. Since senior brother Lin Ling is late, we should make it up to him. For example, he can practice martial arts once. What do you all think? The young man was obviously very respectful of Xing Shiyun and quickly said with a smile. Xing Shiyun frowned when he heard that. Who do you think you are? My disciple came from afar and needs to rest. Do you have the right to let him practice martial arts in front of you? This. The young man was instantly embarrassed. Master, since he specifically invited me, I'll practice martial arts for a while. However, at that moment, Lin Ling said with a smile. Lin Ling, my good disciple, you don't have to practice martial arts. I'd like to see who has the final say in Tantric Buddhism. Xing Shiyun was a little anxious. It's fine. I've been rushing all the way here and my bones are a little sluggish. I'd like to stretch my bones. Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. How could he not know that Tantric Buddhism was jealous of him? Initially, he was too lazy to care about it. However, Xing Shiyun's doting on him touched him. In this life, Lin Ling had many teachers. For example, Huo Leitang from Gu Yen sect. However, they were not considered teachers. In terms of qualifications, Xing Shiyun was the only one. Chapter 30-40. One move. As expected of senior brother Lin Ling. You are so straightforward. Since practicing martial arts is boring, why don't you find a sparring partner? Junior brother Bei Han is not talented. I hope that senior brother Lin Ling can give me some pointers. Alright. The young man smiled and spoke humbly when he saw that Lin Ling had agreed. In fact, if Lin Ling lost to him, it would be even more humiliating. He could use this opportunity to show Xing Shiyun who was qualified to be his disciple. Senior Bei Han is a first-ranked Dezhou sect. He is invincible among the martial immortal realm and is the champion of the martial arts competition. I'm afraid no one in the martial immortal realm can defeat him unless it's the genius from the prominent sect. Yeah, Senior Bei Han has a second-ranked desolate body and is a stage 8 martial immortal realm expert. It's said that his ice rank power has reached 10%. In my opinion, Lin Ling will regret his decision. After all, if he loses, not only will he be humiliated, but Master Xing Shiyun will also be humiliated. Around the martial arts platform, millions of people were gloating over the misfortune of others. Even the experts from the Tantric sect were worried. They could see that Lin Ling was only a 5th-layer martial immortal. The gap between their cultivation levels was too huge. Even though his talent was not weak, Bei Han's talent was not to be underestimated either. If they were to fight, Lin Ling might lose. Old Yun, aren't you going to persuade him? The Tantric sect asked after thinking for a while. Don't underestimate him. However, Xing Shiyun did not object this time. His words caused the master of Tantra and the other experts to frown. They wanted to say something, but Xing Shiyun spoke again. Actually, with that guy's personality, I can't persuade him either. Fuck, how can you be his master? Your disciple is not afraid of his master. You're a disgrace to the 4 heavenly kings of the Tantric sect. Sigh, I don't care about you. When your disciple loses, you're not allowed to teach Bei Han a lesson. The other heavenly kings said one after another. They were even more pessimistic about Lin Ling. However, Xing Shiyun smiled evilly. Was his disciple that easy to defeat? That was someone who could face the dragon god. At this moment, Lin Ling was slowly walking towards the martial stage. His aura was so imposing that he wouldn't be alarmed even if the sky collapsed. This caused everyone's eyes to flicker. Even though they did not think highly of Lin Ling, they could not deny that based on his aura alone, Lin Ling was indeed qualified to become Xing Shiyun's disciple. Of course, this was only on the surface. It did not mean that Lin Ling could win. You are Lin Ling. On the martial stage, Bei Han had been waiting for a long time. When Lin Ling came up, he immediately sneered. Since they were facing each other alone, there was no need for him to hide anything. Hearing that, Lin Ling nodded. You are not fit to be Lord Xing Shiyun's disciple. Bei Han said again. You still can't decide all this. Lin Ling's expression remained calm. In this lifetime, Lord Xing Shiyun has only accepted you as his disciple. However, this position is not for trash. In Tantric Buddhism, there will be many people who will challenge you and trample you under their feet. Today, I will be the first. Bei Han's body began to emit powerful realm essence, causing the martial stage to freeze. The sky above the valley was filled with ice and snow. It was as if the ice goddess had arrived. Whether I am trash or not is not up to you to decide. Perhaps, you are the trash. Seeing this, Lin Ling also activated the realm-devouring beast's innate ability. The dragon bone and the spacetime flame were all suppressed in his body. Together with his 4 dantians, they quietly merged together. Since he was going to fight, he had to win beautifully. Even though Xing Shiyun did not see Lin Ling much, the latter was open and honest. He treated Lin Ling like a real family member. And Lin Ling would never hide anything from his family. After 2 years of waiting, Xing Shiyun had no regrets. Lin Ling would also tell him that he had not waited for 2 years in vain. Since many people are unhappy with me, then I will beat them until they are convinced. You will be the first. Feeling the power in his body becoming more and more ferocious, Lin Ling looked at Bei Han and smiled gently. Killing me as an example to others? That's a good idea, but you don't have the strength to do so. Bei Han had already started to attack. The sharp and cold frost turned into a sword that seemed to come from the void of the universe. The sword was so terrifying that it could defeat any martial immortal. No matter how strong the power of the universe was, when it collided with the sword, it was like an egg hitting a rock. Moreover, the desolate body was roaring like ice and snow at that moment. This was one of the 100 great bloodlines, the bloodline of the ice goddess. Bei Han's strength is clear for all to see. Let's see how Lin Ling will deal with him. At that moment, everyone's blood was boiling. Lin Ling was going to fight the #1 genius of the 10 great sects. In the end, who would obtain the dazzling flower? However, when people looked at Lin Ling, they discovered that Lin Ling was standing still. Instead, he was slowly rolling up his sleeves. This caused everyone's pupils to constrict. There was only one word in their minds: arrogant. A genius from the Qing province actually dared to act so arrogantly in front of a genius from the Spirit province. It was as if he was humiliating all the geniuses from the Spirit province. Senior brother Bei Han, defeat him. At that moment, everyone was looking forward to Lin Ling's defeat even more. It would be best if he was humiliated. Among everyone, only Meng Lu and Di Shi Tian sneered. The difference between Bei Han and Lin Ling was too great. Dragon Tongue and Fang's 2 years of bitter cultivation were not for show. Rumble. At the same time, the ice goddess's divine sword arrived. Bang! Lin Ling also attacked. He stretched out his left arm as if he was drawing a circle in front of him. His entire body was filled with the demeanor of an expert. Rumble. The sword came at him with ice, but Lin Ling stretched out his left palm and blocked all the mysterious power. Endless frost spread out in all directions with Lin Ling's palm as the center. This change caused the people who were whispering to each other to fall silent. Roar! Almost at the same time, under countless gazes, the realm-swallowing beast, the spacetime divine steel, and the dragon god appeared behind Lin Ling. 3 desolate physiques appeared at the same time. What? 3 desolate physiques. Bei Han maintained his sword stance. At that moment, his expression changed drastically. He did not expect Lin Ling to have such terrifying talent despite his low cultivation level. He could not help but look at Lin Ling in shock. He realized that Lin Ling was also looking at him. His face was calm as he softly said a sentence. One move. After saying that, Lin Ling's right hand finally moved under countless gazes. He threw a punch. Ka ka ka. That punch not only broke the ice goddess's divine sword, but it also shattered the ice and snow protection around Bei Han's body. It was getting closer and closer to his eyes. Bei Han's eyes were filled with shock. But this shock could not stop the ferocious punch. Rumble. A deafening sound was heard at the same time. Countless gazes saw a figure fly out towards the edge of the wide martial arts platform. Finally, the figure forcibly released his strength to stop the terrifying momentum. Pooh! Chapter 30-41. Long talk. One move. Bei Han muttered to himself. He didn't expect the gap between him and Lin Ling to be so big. He couldn't help but look into the distance as if he wanted to see through the blue-robed young man. However, the blue-robed young man had already disappeared. He had appeared in front of Bei Han and punched him like a ferocious beast. Fortunately, it stopped in front of Bei Han's face. Bei Han felt as if he had taken a stroll in the underworld and went limp. You've lost. The soft voice drifted out like a gust of wind to everyone's astonishment. Bei Han was stunned. The vast martial platform was dead silent. Bei Han wasn't the most powerful genius of Tantric Buddhism, but he was one of the best among the top 10 sections. Lin Ling came from Qingzhou, so people didn't think he was a match for Bei Han. However, in the end, Lin Ling defeated Bei Han with a single punch. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey was a little too straightforward. So powerful. All the beautiful girls in the fairy sect exclaimed. The eyes of the most beautiful girl, Longyang, were also flickering. The geniuses of the top sects were like ducks that had been grabbed by the neck. No one dared to speak. Judging from the result, Lin Ling was obviously stronger than them. Old Yun's disciple won. Watching Lin Ling leave the martial platform, the Lord of Tantric Buddhism on the high platform smiled in surprise. This guy is not simple. Apart from the 3 desolate physiques, his realm essence is more important. He's only at the 5th level of the martial immortal realm, but his realm essence is so powerful that I feel like he's at the peak of the martial immortal realm. Judging from how calm he is, I'm afraid he's still hiding some of his strength. The various heavenly kings also spoke one after another, causing Xing Shiyun to reveal a proud smile. He knew that although these brothers didn't object to him recruiting disciples, they were prejudiced against Lin Ling. They just didn't dare to say it out loud. But now, they were more or less convinced. Master, I'm late. Sorry. Lin Ling ignored the shocked gazes of the crowd as he looked at Xing Xiuyun. Xing Xiuyun laughed heartily, and said coolly, you may be late, but at least you didn't embarrass your master. Master won't punish you. Thank you, Master. Lin Ling said indifferently. From the looks of it, there was no reverence in his expression. He was still as calm as ever. This made Master Tantric Buddhism and the other experts realize that Lin Ling's disciple was not recruited by Xing Shiyun due to Lin Ling's sincerity. Instead, it was Xing Shiyun who took the initiative to recruit him. Next, the tantric great ceremony also came to an end, and everyone began to disperse. This Lin Ling has some skills. We've underestimated him. Outside of the geniuses of the secret school, geniuses from the 1st rank to the 10th rank are not his match. But are the geniuses of the Azure Prefecture this powerful? That's right, I thought the geniuses of the Qing Prefecture were all trash. However, Lin Ling defeating Bei Han with one move was also a show of strength. Damn it! How dare he be so arrogant after taking away the goddess of the fairy sect? If you're not convinced, you can try to defeat him. Many people were still not convinced, but there was nothing they could do. Lin Ling followed Xing Xian with Sakura. Along the way, many envious gazes were cast at them, but Lin Ling and the other two ignored them. After all, Lin Ling had come here for cultivation resources. Finally, Lin Ling arrived at a magnificent mountain peak. This mountain peak was located in a valley and was one of the highest peaks in the valley. Only the big shots of the secret school could have it. My good disciple, do you see that? Our secret school is so powerful. Xing Xian immediately said with a smile after inviting Lin Ling and the others to sit down in the hall. Upon hearing that, Lin Ling and the other two nodded without denying it. Where have you been in the past 2 years? Then, Xing Xian asked again. We were stopped at a place in the Dragon Tongue Teeth. Lin Ling said when he heard that. Dragon Tongue Fang. How dare he touch my disciple? Don't worry. After tomorrow, I will eradicate Dragon Tongue Fang. Xing Xiaoyun was obviously very familiar with Dragon Tongue Fang. Senior Xing Xian, there's no need for that. The 3 of us have already uprooted Dragon Tooth City. But at that moment, Sakura said proudly. His words made Xing Xian's pupils dilate. She said in disbelief, I heard that there are 2 half-saints there. Not just 2, another one came from the heavenly court, but they were all killed by Lin Ling in the end. Meng Lu said with a smile. Qi. Xing Xian gasped and stared at Lin Ling. It seems that you only used 60% of your strength to defeat Bei Han. Following that, he burst out laughing. His disciple's talent was indeed terrifying. However, Lin Ling pondered for a while and said, I killed 2 of the Heavenly Court's experts. I'm afraid that the Heavenly Court will come looking for me. Xing Xian frowned. The tantric sects were also somewhat afraid of the Heavenly Court. However, he quickly shook his head and said, it's okay. If they really dare to come looking for me, I'd like to see how powerful the legendary Heavenly Court is. Well, let's not talk about this anymore. By the way, I've found you a beauty. She's Longyang from the fairy sect. TSK, she's the top beauty in the tantric sects. She's the perfect match for you. Master, I'm a married man. My current ambition is martial arts. I don't plan to fool around anymore. Lin Ling had also heard of this rumor. He shook his head with a wry smile. That won't do. Longyang is the flower of the tantric sects. Countless descendants of deities have tried to pluck this flower, but they all failed. Besides, I've already boasted that only my disciple is worthy of Longyang. Now that you've rejected me, I can't put my old face down, especially when I'm facing the fairy sect master. Xing Xian was a little anxious. Oh. Lin Ling, Sakura, and the others looked at each other curiously. Does master have some kind of bond with the fairy sect master? You're right about that. In the past, I was as handsome and graceful as you. At that time, I was already in love with the fairy sect master. However, due to fate, I didn't marry her in the end. That's why I want the juniors of our 2 sects to be married. Xing Xian said nostalgically. Upon hearing that, Lin Ling and the others had strange expressions on their faces. They felt that this guy was lying. You guys, why are you looking at me like that? Xing Xian glanced at Lin Ling and the others and was so angry that his beard puffed up. He was a big shot who had existed in the post-deity era. When had he ever been doubted like this? He was also very handsome when he was young. Lin Ling and the others snickered secretly, but they didn't dare to tease Xing Shiyun anymore. After all, this old man was indeed very nice to them. By the way, Master, is there any good place to cultivate in the tantric sects? Lin Ling revealed his purpose for coming here. Chapter 30-42. Simple Mountain and Ancient Tree. Naturally, there are many places for cultivation. Our valley is actually a land of miracles with countless years of history. Even we don't know the name of it. However, in the valley, there are many places with cultivation effects that are thousands or even tens of thousands of times better than the outside world. Speaking of this, Xing Shiyun suddenly became proud, as if he was afraid that Lin Ling and the rest would run away. Follow me. Subsequently, Xing Shiyun waved his hand and led Lin Ling and the rest out of the hall. When they arrived outside, he whistled towards the sky and a white crane the size of a small mountain majestically flew down. Little White, these are my disciples. Remember. Xing Shiyun said lightly to the crane. That crane immediately let out a loud cry. Obviously, it had gained intelligence. Next, Xing Shiyun led Lin Ling and the rest to ride the crane and flew away. Not long after, everyone came to a corner of the valley. What was surprising was that there was actually a valley within a valley, and under the ground, there was a huge basin. In front of the basin, there was an ancient stone tablet with 4 big words engraved on it, Great Sage Yuxian. Second brother, I'm afraid this is the place where the gods lived in the era of gods. It should be a cave. The ancient gods all treated their cultivation places as caves. One time, they would be in seclusion for tens of millions of years. TSK, that's amazing. The white crane floated down to the basin, and what came into view was an ancient giant tree. This tree was extremely strange. Its surface was engraved with a large number of complicated runes, as if it was an old man who had lived for countless years. Simple Mountain and Ancient Tree? Lin Ling suddenly exclaimed. Oh, you also know this ancient tree? Xing Shiyun suddenly looked at Lin Ling with some surprise. I know, this is a boundary tree. According to legend, it was formed by a boundary. Lin Ling's face was somewhat dignified. Heavens, there's actually a boundary tree. Di Shi Tian also felt that it was an eye-opener. Because thousands of trees were born in the universe, and most of them were born from seeds. It was indeed rare for a tree to be born from a boundary. The product of the era of gods was indeed a work of the gods. Most importantly, the tree formed by the barrier is not man-made. This means that the barrier on the ancient tree is all natural. Lin Ling looked interested. In his previous life, Li Xiaoyao had also seen this kind of ancient tree. It was just a dead tree, but at that time, it was still fought over by a group of powerhouses. Big brother, Dreamstream, this is an excellent place for cultivation. Because this tree has been around for so long, it has already gathered the spiritual qi of the universe for millions of years. Then, Lin Ling strode forward. Lin Ling, be careful. This tree has its own enchantment. So far, we've only broken through to the 8th ring. It'll be difficult to get any closer. Seeing that Lin Ling was about to make a move, Xing Shiyun immediately spoke up. Then, he took out a jade talisman, intending to tell Lin Ling how to break the barrier. However, Lin Ling and the other 2 were already walking towards the ancient tree. Along the way, Lin Ling constantly waved his hands, and the natural enchantments emitted cracking sounds as they shattered on their own. This change left Xing Xiuyun speechless. Because unknowingly, Lin Ling and the other 2 had already walked into the 9th ring. They didn't need the method to break the barrier at all. This disciple of mine is really amazing. Xing Shiyun suddenly smiled bitterly. Looking at the jade talisman that he had prepared, he felt that it was useless now. And in the blink of an eye, Lin Ling had already brought Sakura and the others into the 8th ring. Moreover, the speed wasn't slow. Could it be that he's going to enter the 7th ring? Our tantric sect has never broken the natural barrier of the 7th ring. Xing Xian's eyes began to widen. He, second brother, the spiritual qi here is very dense. Lin Ling, if we continue forward, the spiritual qi will be even stronger. We'll definitely be able to break through. The voices of Sakura and the others also floated out at this moment. They were very excited. It was as if getting close to the ancient barrier tree was as simple as drinking water. Such words made Xing Xian's beard puff up. Did these two guys know what the ancient barrier tree was? Okay. However, Lin Ling agreed without hesitation. In fact, Lin Ling was also very excited at this moment. Because these natural barriers had opened his eyes, he felt that this trip was not in vain. Moreover, these natural barriers not only contained the secrets of the universe, but also a large amount of martial arts Tao within them. In his previous life, Li Xiaoyao was a genius who was extremely good at barriers and liked to study them. Therefore, when faced with natural barriers, Lin Ling was also addicted to it. On the contrary, Sakura and the others didn't know so much. They thought that Lin Ling breaking the natural barriers was a very simple matter. The spiritual qi has changed again. I'm afraid it has reached 1,000 times. Wow, what a comfortable spiritual qi. Wow. Lin Ling, work harder. Wow. Their voices floated out again. As for the valley at this moment, not only was Xing Xian standing there in a daze, the other 3 heavenly kings, the 3 white-haired old men, also appeared at this moment. Each of them seemed to be in a daze as they stared at Lin Ling and the others. Old Yun, what kind of disciple did you find? Yes. When they come out, we must get the broken barriers. Yes. Those old men were all blowing their beards. Hearing this, Xing Xian smiled. She didn't expect Lin Ling to make such a contribution to Tantric Buddhism when he just came to Tantric Buddhism. At this moment, Lin Ling was sweating profusely. His soul power was greatly exhausted, and so was his 10,000 devil eyes. Finally, they stopped at the 6th ring. The reason why they could reach the 6th ring was because of Li Xiaoyao's memory and 10,000 devil eyes, but now they had reached their limit. Big brother, we can only do it here. Sigh, if I had known, I would have asked Master for the way to break the barriers. Perhaps, we could reach the 4th or 3rd ring. Lin Ling said with some regret. Here is enough. In my opinion, we will break through again in less than a month. However, Sakura and the others were already very satisfied. In the distance, Xing Xian and the others were embarrassed. Fortunately, Lin Ling didn't ask them for the way to break the barriers, because currently, Tantric Buddhism was only at the 8th ring. Lin Ling and the other 2 naturally didn't know what they were thinking. At this moment, they seized the time and cultivated crazily. The rolling spiritual energy was more abundant than emperor crystals. It was equivalent to the effect of cultivating in the spirit cave, and it continuously filled their dantian. Sakura and Meng Lu broke through one after another. Lin Ling had more dantians, so he was slower. However, it was only a matter of time before he broke through. After an unknown period of time, Lin Ling opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. 6th level martial immortal. Moreover, with the help of the ancient tree's spiritual energy, his other dantians had also reached 6th level martial immortal. He looked around and found that his big brother and the others had left. Instead, there was a vine swaying beside him. It was Mini Kunlun. Lin Ling clearly felt that Mini Kunlun had also undergone a transformation. It was even more powerful than before. It seemed that this ancient tree was not only effective for martial artists, but also for other deities. Mini Kunlun has undergone a transformation. Its power must have increased greatly, and my strength has also increased greatly. 90% of first-level half-saints are no match for me. Chapter 30-43. Asking Lin Ling to come out. Now, I can return to Azure Province through the space-time divine steel. Then, I'll get rid of the Empress Dowager. Lin Ling had never forgotten the great enmity he had with the Rainforest Holy Land. And now, he had the strength to personally take revenge. As long as he dealt with the Empress Dowager, he would have no more worries. He could also take revenge on the Heavenly Court and find out about Tian Liuli's whereabouts. Glancing at the ancient tree, Lin Ling slowly left. Second brother, you've finally come out. Just as he walked out of the valley, Sakra's figure appeared in front of him, and behind him was a man who was about 30+ years old. His attire wasn't ordinary, and he seemed to have some background. Where's Dreamflow? Lin Ling glanced at the man and asked. That guy Meng Lu went to challenge the geniuses of the various sections. He knows that those geniuses aren't convinced, so he used his fists to convince them. Sakra laughed and said. This made Lin Ling guess that during this period of time, Big Brother must have challenged a lot of people. This is my second brother. Next, Sakra said to the man behind him. So you're young hero Lin. I've heard so much about you. The man's appearance was ordinary, but he was smooth and slick, so he immediately bowed politely. On the other hand, Lin Ling nodded and looked at Sakra in confusion. Heh, this is an opponent I met in the Spirit Province. No discord, no concord. Now, we have become friends, and today, he specially came to find you. Sakra immediately explained. My name is Jian Shoujie. I'm from the Jian family's imperial city. Young hero Lin, you can call me Shoujie. The man knew Lin Ling's identity, so he was polite and respectful. Brother Shoujie, may I know why you're looking for me? Since the other party was a friend that Sakra had met in the Spirit Province, Lin Ling would also give him some face. It's like this. Our Jian clan's imperial city is not from the Spirit State. We're in charge of the medicinal garden in the Spirit State, providing the divine prefecture above the Spirit State with heavenly materials and earthly treasures. However, in the past few years, our medicinal garden has changed. All of the spirit flowers have withered. That's why we're looking for experts to help us. However, many experts have come, but none of them could figure it out. Left with no choice, we could only ask for help from the Mi and Xian sects. Coincidentally, Master Divine Dragon of the Tantra sect left. So, we listened to Brother D's advice and wanted to ask for young hero Lin's help. Hearing that, Lin Ling nodded in realization, but then asked curiously, there are countless boundary masters in the divine prefecture. Can't they see the reason? It's precisely because we can't tell that we're anxious. Right now, the time for the spirit flower to appear is getting closer and closer. However, if all the flowers wither, it will be difficult for us to hand over the spirit flower. When that time comes, our Jian family's imperial city will be in great trouble. Jian Shoujie said bitterly. If that's the case, then I'll go and take a look. But let me tell you in advance, I might not be able to help. Lin Ling took a look at Sakra. Seeing the latter's expectant look, he immediately nodded. Thank you, young hero Lin. Jian Shoujie immediately became excited and looked at Sakra gratefully. As for the spirit prefecture, Lin Ling wasn't familiar with it. It was a good opportunity for him to see the specialty of the spirit prefecture. Along the way, the three of them finally arrived at the Jian family's imperial city. To ordinary people, this was a huge force that no one dared to provoke. However, to the Mi and Xian sects, the Jian family's imperial city was just as so. If they didn't guard the herb garden for the other divine prefecture, their Jian family might not be able to survive in the spirit prefecture. To put it bluntly, the Jian family was the gatekeeper. However, the person behind the scenes was the other divine prefecture, so no one dared to provoke them. Miracle. After arriving at the Jian family's imperial city, Lin Ling immediately saw that the surrounding plants were extremely dense and ancient. This meant that this place was left behind by the gods. That's right. In fact, this place doesn't belong to our Jian family. It belongs to the other powerful divine prefecture. Jian Xiujie immediately explained. The group passed through the ancient walls and entered the herb garden. Along the way, Lin Ling discovered that there were a large number of enchantments that had been set up by strong cultivators. Of course, to Lin Ling, these enchantments were just so. Jie, who allowed you to come here? No one dared to stop Jian Xiujie, except for the current emperor of the Jian family. It's like this. I saw that the herb garden was withering every day, so I went around looking for experts to help. Today, I also invited an expert. Jian Xiujie immediately said. Hearing this, the emperor coldly snorted, thinking that his son was causing trouble. However, today, he had invited a real expert, so he was too lazy to reprimand Jian Xiujie. The truth was indeed so. At this moment, a large number of experts had gathered in this ancient garden. Many people frowned as they looked at the garden, as if they were helpless. Crown Prince, right now, when His Majesty is having a headache, you suddenly came. Aren't you causing trouble? An old man dressed as a prime minister frowned and said at this moment, causing Jian Xiujie to helplessly shake his head. I just want to help. Sigh, this is a garden left behind by the gods. Ordinary people can't help. You'd better not provoke your father anymore. He's in a bad mood right now. Just obediently watch from the side. The old man said again. Sigh. Hearing this, Jian Xiujie sighed. He also knew that the prime minister looked down on Lin Ling and the young man, and this caused him to feel very helpless. Even though he really wanted to say that the blue-robed young man was a disciple of one of the 4 heavenly kings of the spirit province, identity was identity. If Lin Ling couldn't be of any help, then revealing Lin Ling's identity would only make him a laughingstock. Lin Ling and Sakura also saw the attitude of the Jian family in their eyes. Sakura was obviously somewhat unhappy. In any case, they had come to help and didn't ask for any reward. How could the Jian family treat them like this? They didn't even treat them to tea. If it wasn't for Jian Xiujie's face, Sakura would have already left in a huff. To him, the Jian family was just a fart. How could they be compared to the Tantric sect? However, Lin Ling didn't care. Instead, he paid attention to the surroundings and found that it was very cold. It was extremely strange. Big brother, the yin qi here is very heavy. Lin Ling whispered. I have the same feeling. Sakura nodded. This happened suddenly 10 years ago. The herb garden suddenly became cold, causing the spiritual flowers to wither. However, we invited many people to check it out, but they couldn't find the reason. We used all kinds of rare treasures, but there was no effect. Sigh, this land of gods is so mysterious. The treasures grown are all extraordinary, but once there's a problem, we people of the post-gods era can't understand it at all. Jian Xiujie said helplessly. The conversation of the few people was naturally seen by the Prime Minister and the Emperor of the Jian family. They smiled disdainfully and didn't bother to speak. Instead, they looked at an old man. That old man was wearing an 8 trigrams Taoist robe and looked extremely extraordinary. He was a boundary master of the Xian sect. It was said that he was a purple-robed boundary master. Purple-robed boundary master was the highest level boundary master in the Tao of spirit formations. Chapter 3044. What a load of nonsense. The yin qi is too strong. This place was a slaughterhouse during the era of gods. Because a lot of life force was cut off, there is a lot of life force hidden in the earth. However, there is also baleful qi and resentment qi. It's just that in the past, the yin qi and other things were suppressed. But now, the feng shui has changed, so the life force can't suppress the yin qi. The old man suddenly opened his mouth. Master Yunpe, is there a way to break it? Yes. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The Jian family's emperor immediately asked. Ordinary spirit formation can't break it at all. Yes. Master Yunpe shook his head and said, how can there be a spirit formation that can suppress the gods killed in the era of gods? Yes. Can we only watch the spirit flowers wither? These spirit flowers have been planted for 500 years. Now that they are about to be harvested, what should we do? The Jian family's emperor panicked a little. Although I said that the spirit formation can't suppress it, I didn't say that it can't be changed. As long as the Nine Suns divine formation is set up here, it can fuse with the yin qi and turn the yin qi, baleful qi, ghost qi, and demonic qi into life force. Master Yunpe suddenly smiled faintly. Good, as expected of a master from Xianzong. Yes. Hearing this, the Jian family's people were overjoyed. Nonsense. Yes. But at this moment, an untimely voice suddenly sounded. Everyone was shocked. Looking over, they saw a blue-robed young man slowly walking over from a corner of the garden. Beside him, Jian Xiujie had a blank expression. It seemed that he didn't expect Lin Ling to suddenly speak and even cursed him for speaking nonsense. Who are you? Why are you causing trouble here? In the Jian family's imperial city, many people saw Lin Ling for the first time, so they reprimanded him. The Jian family's emperor's face was gloomy. He had already seen the young man and thought that he had come to join in the fun. Who knew that he would suddenly dare to interrupt? Wasn't this offending their Jian family's distinguished guest? He couldn't help but look at Jian Xiujie with resentment. Little friend, today, all the big shots are gathered here. They are all sage-level experts. You are just a martial immortal junior. Are you courting death? The Jian family's emperor didn't speak because of his status, but the prime minister had already spoken. Do you know what you're saying? The other people who seemed to be dressed extraordinarily also spoke up. This made Jian Xiujie's expression change drastically, and he kept winking at Lin Ling. However, it was as if Lin Ling did not see his gaze. He said indifferently, I'm saying that he's talking nonsense. As soon as he finished speaking, the garden fell silent. Previously, they could think that Lin Ling was young and frivolous, so they could forgive Lin Ling. But now, Lin Ling still had to say it again. Wasn't this not embarrassing Grandmaster Yunpe of Xian sect? No, it should be said that it was a clean slap. The emperor of the Jian family couldn't bear it anymore and said in a dignified voice, we are talking. Since when do you have the right to interrupt? I was invited by brother Jian Xiujie. Why can't I speak? To be honest, if he hadn't invited me here, you people wouldn't have been able to invite me. Hearing that, Lin Ling said indifferently. Jian Xiujie immediately grimaced. Although Lin Ling couldn't be offended, Lin Ling didn't need to offend this group of big shots. At that time, he, Jian Xiujie, wouldn't be able to get out of the embarrassing situation. The fact was indeed so. Everyone looked at Jian Xiujie with angry gazes. The emperor of the Jian family sighed and shook his head, as if he was extremely disappointed with Jian Xiujie. This made Jian Xiujie want to cry but have no tears. Of course, it was impossible for the emperor of the Jian family to be angry with a junior, so he planned to chase him away. However, at this time, Grandmaster Yunpe, who had been silent all this time, suddenly smiled and said, it's fine. There has never been a peak in the field of spirit barriers, and there has never been anyone who is omnipotent. Although I'm the #1 spirit barrier master in Xian sect, I can't guarantee that I know everything. Especially when it comes to things related to gods, I'm even more ambiguous. Since this little friend dares to speak, you must be a descendant of a god in the divine continent. As soon as he said that, everyone nodded. They felt that Grandmaster Yunpa had the demeanor of an expert. Even though he was questioned, he wasn't angry. Instead, he was extremely magnanimous. When they looked at Lin Ling again, they were immediately filled with disdain. Grandmaster Yunpa is still the most amazing. Little friend, why aren't you reporting your master? The emperor of the Jian family said to Lin Ling. Lin Ling casually walked around and sniffed the flowers around him. He had a leisurely look on his face. This attitude undoubtedly caused the expressions of the experts to turn ugly. Actually, when it comes to the field of spirit barriers, I don't have a master. Lin Ling said as he sniffed the flowers. Grandmaster Yunpa frowned when these words sounded. Was this fellow mocking him? He thought that those who could come here were either rich or noble. No matter what, they would have some background. Who knew that the blue-robed youth was like an ordinary person with no background at all? However, you're right. You really don't know much about gods. Lin Ling put down the flowers in his hand. He seemed to have confirmed something, so he said indifferently. This kind of narcissistic attitude caused the experts to be completely dissatisfied. How could Grandmaster Yunpa be magnanimous? His indifferent old face was gloomy at this moment. Ignore him. Grandmaster Yunpa, please set up the 9 Suns divine formation. The emperor of the Jian family was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. He almost wanted to attack Lin Ling, but he still endured it. All right. Grandmaster Yunpa immediately nodded. Perhaps it was because of Lin Ling, his mood was very bad. He wanted to prove himself even more, so he agreed very straightforwardly. Myriad chi of heaven and earth, natural wind and clouds. He began to lay down layers of barriers, causing the garden to quietly warm up. Everyone immediately revealed a smile. As expected of a purple-robed world spiritist. The moment he made a move, it was obvious whether he was capable or not. When they looked at Lin Ling again, they discovered that the latter was squatting down to investigate something. They immediately felt even more disdain. 9 Suns formation, 9 Suns, void, origin, profound, front, fight, heaven, earth, Zhen, 3. As time passed, the scorching aura became even stronger. Grandmaster Yunpa was like a god, as if he controlled the climate and feng shui of the entire universe. Everyone felt comfortable all over, and their admiration for Grandmaster Yunpa increased by a bit. Little friend, you said that I'm talking nonsense. I don't know why you're so sure. Suddenly, Grandmaster Yunpa stopped setting up spirit barriers and looked indifferently at Lin Ling as he spoke. Everyone also looked at Lin Ling with contempt and sneers. In their opinion, Grandmaster Yunpa's sudden question was definitely to teach this brat a lesson. In reality, I'm 100% sure. Because from the beginning, you didn't find the right source. So, you're talking nonsense. Lin Ling stared at Grandmaster Yunpa as he spoke in an extremely serious manner. However, this sentence caused Grandmaster Yunpa to frown deeply. He thought that after he set up a spirit barrier, this brat would definitely submit to him. Chapter 30-45. When my flowers bloom. Who exactly are you? Don't you know you need to humbly seek guidance from your seniors? Grandmaster Yunpa was clearly angered. In reality, the path of spirit formations is respected by those who are capable. So, you are still not considered a senior. However, Lin Ling slowly replied. Grandmaster Yunpa was completely enraged. He is Grandmaster Yunpa from the Xian sect, a purple-robed spirit formation master. If you are a spirit formation cultivator, how could you not know him? I think you don't even know who Grandmaster Yunpa is. Even the Jian family's emperor reprimanded Lin Ling on behalf of Grandmaster Yunpa. He had never seen a junior like Lin Ling. He was clearly wrong, but he refused to admit it. I have indeed never heard of him. Under Jian Xiujia's increasingly panicked gaze, Lin Ling honestly nodded. Then do you know why the flowers here are so cold? Do you know what this place is? Do you know how many ancient auras from the era of gods have gathered here? You simply don't know. You are only speaking nonsense. Grandmaster Yunpei coldly shouted. Where was his previous calmness? I indeed don't know what you said. Hearing that, Lin Ling very honestly nodded. Instantly, the crowd looked at him with even more disdain and anger. A junior like him who refused to admit defeat should simply be taught a lesson. Jian Xiujie had a bitter expression. He thought Lin Ling, as the disciple of the 4 heavenly kings of Tantra, should have some ability. However, Grandmaster Yunpei kept asking, yet Lin Ling said he didn't know anything. Most importantly, it was fine if he didn't know, but he was actually pretending. I indeed don't know what you said. At that moment, Lin Ling repeated what he said before, but this time, he added, because what you said is nonsense. Anger. At this moment, the flames of anger were boiling in the garden. Everyone wanted to attack Lin Ling and teach this junior who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. Even Sakura bitterly smiled. He did help Lin Ling, but Lin Ling also needed to have some confidence. However, from the looks of it, Lin Ling indeed didn't know anything. In reality, no one knew because Lin Ling had found the source. And the source was related to Lin Ling. It was one of the broken swords in the mysterious scabbard. The scabbard was something that Lin Ling could not see through. Lin Ling guessed it was a product of the era of gods. Yin energy. And Yin energy. As the scabbard was very ordinary and buried in the ground, ordinary people would not be able to detect it. If Lin Ling had not carried the scabbard on his back, he would not have noticed it either. As for that Grandmaster Yunpei's world spirit comprehension, Lin Ling felt that it was merely a so-so. In fact, it could even be said to be completely unremarkable. Good, good, good. It's been a long time since I've seen a junior who doesn't know how to appreciate favors. Master Yunpei smiled, but everyone could see that his smile was filled with anger. Do you know the one origin yang boundary technique? Do you know the Book of Changes 20? Do you know the innate 8 trigrams and the postnatal 8 trigrams boundary technique? Master Yunpei's aura spread out and his robe fluttered. As he took a step forward, an arrogant voice came from his mouth. Everyone was intimidated by his aura and quietly retreated. The reverence in their eyes became even stronger. However, Lin Ling was indifferent. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "What you said is child's play. Moreover, what does this have to do with the current difficult and complicated disease? Don't change the topic. Enough. You don't know anything and you dare to be arrogant in front of me. Today, I'll let you die wholeheartedly convinced." Killing intent appeared in Master Yunpei's eyes. Obviously, he was provoked to the point of wanting to kill Lin Ling. Look at my boundary technique. He knew that he could rely on his mouth, experience, and knowledge. No matter what, he couldn't make this junior bow his head. Then, let's see the results. As his palm landed on the ground, the entire garden suddenly changed. The temperature suddenly rose and it was full of vitality. The originally lifeless flowers became emerald green at this moment. The formation that was set up before was now showing its effect. Everyone was overjoyed and they all laughed. "Your Majesty, look, it's blooming." The Prime Minister looked at one of the spiritual flowers in ecstasy because it had bloomed. This was also the first flower that had bloomed in the garden in 10 years. "It's really amazing." Jian Xiujie also said in shock. However, Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. If I hadn't solved the source, with his formation, it would at most be temporarily effective. In less than a month, everything will return to normal. Hearing that, Jian Xiujie smiled bitterly, but he complained in his heart. Young Hero Lin, if it weren't for your identity and my good relationship with your big brother, not to mention father, even I would have taught you a lesson today. Obviously, even now, he thought that Lin Ling didn't know how to appreciate favors. Second brother, let's go now. Seeing everyone in ecstasy and constantly flattering Master Yunpe, Sakura said bitterly. Let's go. Lin Ling nodded. Because he seemed to be smelling the flowers in the garden, but in fact, he had quietly taken the broken sword away. Therefore, there was no need to stay now. What, are you planning to leave with your tail between your legs? However, there was someone who didn't want him to leave, and that person was Master Yunpe. Everyone looked at Lin Ling, their eyes full of mockery. This clown is finally going to take his curtain call. Now, they wanted to see what this clown had to say. Father, how about, Jian Xiujia obviously wanted to plead for Lin Ling, shut up. The Jian clan's emperor refused and stared at Lin Ling unexpectedly. Lin Ling wasn't embarrassed at all and was still as calm as ever. If it wasn't for my big brother, I definitely wouldn't have come to the herb garden today. Because as I said before, you can't invite me. However, your hospitality is too disappointing. I'm here to help, but you didn't even greet me. There's only disdain. Fine, I'll let you see my ability. Lin Ling put his left hand behind his back and began to wave his right hand. Layers of barriers sprinkled down like starlight, as though he was summoning the gods of the universe. Rumble. A deafening sound suddenly rang out. What was terrifying was that only the sound could be heard, but nothing could be seen. In fact, that was the millions of barriers that Lin Ling had set up. With Lin Ling as the center, rich vitality began to spread out. In the garden, the only flower that had bloomed quietly withered at this moment, causing everyone's eyes to widen. But in the next moment, the spiritual flowers that hadn't bloomed all bloomed, and their fragrance drifted through the herb garden. This. Everyone was stunned as though they had been struck by lightning. Master Yunpo's body continued to tremble as he looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. Amidst the fragrance of the flowers, Lin Ling's blue-robed figure was like a cloud in the flowers. With his hands behind his back, he quietly disappeared, but a disdainful sneer hung at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 3046. There was no face to speak of. What kind of barrier is this? Why does it give me the feeling of a natural barrier? Furthermore, is it instantaneous? Grandmaster Yunpe became absent-minded. What is the aura of a natural barrier? And Grandmaster Yunpe, what is instantaneous? The Jian family members were still in shock. Someone let out a sharp cry. The aura of a natural barrier is a barrier formed by all things in the world. It is not born among humans. For example, in some ancient lands of miracles, because of the uncanny workmanship, when ordinary people enter, it is very easy for them to get lost. This is the might of the firmament of the universe. And right now, the barrier around us has such an aura, causing the spiritual flowers to naturally bloom in the firmament. As for instantaneous, it is an extremely profound level in the path of barriers. With a thought, the barrier will spread everywhere. Moreover, the minimum requirement is 100 million. At present, this level of barrier only appears in legends. Without a huge amount of soul power in the right time, it is simply impossible to succeed. The path of barriers I learned is from the Miao school. However, even in the Miao school, I have never heard of such an instantaneous ability. The crowd was confused. They did not understand at all. However, they felt that the young man was too godly. It was simply shocking. Without mentioning anything else, just the effect of the barrier was enough to prove everything. Earlier, when Grandmaster Yunpe laid down the 9 suns divine formation, all things appeared with vitality. There was even a spiritual flower that bloomed. However, when that young man made a move, it was not just a single flower. It was simply 100 flowers blooming, colorful and colorful. From this point of view, that young man was truly qualified to reprimand Grandmaster Yunpe. Jia, where is that Grandmaster? The Jian family's emperor hurriedly said. His gaze swept around, but there was no sign of Lin Ling and Yunpa in the garden. "Your Majesty, look, the grand yellow flower has borne fruit." "Heavens, doesn't this flower only bear fruit after 1,000 years? Also, this great sun-soul shattering grass has actually turned into a worm. According to legends, only when there is no mountain and the heaven and earth are united will the great sun-soul shattering grass regain its soul and turn it into a worm. This garden's barrier is likely very ancient." Everyone continued to exclaim. Grandmaster Yunpo was the most excited. When he saw the mysterious barrier on the ground, his entire body began to tremble. If this old man is not mistaken, then this barrier came from the ancient tree in Simple Mountain. Legend has it that this ancient tree was created by a barrier. I didn't expect this child to be able to arrange it. Towards the end, Grandmaster Yunpo was so agitated that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone looked at each other, and their expressions instantly became extremely unsightly. Now, they were too embarrassed to face that young man. The Jian clan's emperor stomped his feet, feeling extremely regretful. He looked around and found that his son had also disappeared. This made him feel relieved. He hoped that his son would be able to bring that noble person back again. At this moment, outside the Jian clan's imperial city, two figures were slowly moving forward. "That's too much. In any case, we're here to help, but who knew that the Jian family's hospitality would be so disappointing?" Sakura still seemed to be unable to vent his anger. "Who cares? Anyway, I've already gotten what I need. Moreover, the garden will be fine in the short term, but in the long term, the vitality left by the gods in the garden will definitely dissipate," Lin Ling said with a smile. Hearing this, Sakura blinked. What will happen if the vitality disappears? It will become an ordinary place, no longer a miracle. This is called retribution for evil. The two of them continued to talk, but Lin Ling's footsteps soon stopped. He looked behind him and said indifferently, "You've been following us for so long. Could it be that you plan to return to the tantric sect with us?" Suddenly, Jian Shoujie walked out awkwardly. At this moment, he wished he could slap himself. Previously, he was indeed too cold to Lin Ling. "If you're inviting me back, then you don't have to open your mouth. I helped you before only because of my big brother. Otherwise, do you think your Jian family could invite me? Also, let me tell you, don't think that just because your Jian family isn't from the spirit state, you're amazing. In the 9 states, the ancient figures I know are thousands of times more than your Jian family," Lin Ling said as he looked at Jian Shoujie. Jian Shoujie was even more embarrassed. He quickly bowed to Lin Ling and said, "Young hero Lin, we were blind before. I hope that you can be magnanimous and not be bothered by our rudeness. Now, my father has instructed me to invite you back. I hope that young hero Lin will give me this face. If young hero Lin doesn't give me face today, I'll pay a visit in the future and beg for forgiveness until young hero Lin forgives us." After saying that, Jian Shoujie also bowed down. However, Sakura's face was full of disdain. He was willing to sacrifice himself for his friend, but when they were being mocked, Jian Shoujie didn't help them at all. Instead, his eyes were filled with resentment. Thus, he had seen through this friend of his. "You don't have any face in front of me. Also, I know that you want to tell your Jian family's emperor that I'm a disciple of Xing Shiyun. However, I advise you not to speak carelessly. Otherwise, if you bring trouble to my master, I'll destroy your Jian family too. Big brother, let's go." Lin Ling coldly spat out a sentence, then left with Sakura. Jian Shoujie wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he didn't say anything and left helplessly with a bitter face. After returning to the Jian family's imperial city, he hesitated for a long time. In the end, he didn't dare to reveal Lin Ling's origin. After all, if Xing Shiyun was angered, their Jian family wouldn't be able to bear it. After knowing that the deity had disappeared, Master Yunpa and the Jian family's emperor were filled with regret. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I'm afraid that Senior is a descendant of a deity. However, I missed it. Sigh, I really want to slap myself 3 times. Master Yunpa sighed continuously. When he was angry, he really slapped himself. At this moment, Lin Ling and Sakura were also heading towards Tantra. It didn't take long for them to arrive. Senior brother Lin Ling. Greetings, senior brother. Along the way, many people bowed to Lin Ling. Even some of the half-saint experts were the same. They looked at Lin Ling with complicated gazes. There was awe and envy. Lin Ling smiled slightly, appearing neither arrogant nor humble. Although this Lin Ling came from the spirit province and his strength isn't weak, his aura is extremely extraordinary. Yeah, he became Lord Xing Xian's disciple, but he didn't panic at all. It's obvious that he's experienced a lot. Although he defeated the number 1 geniuses of the various sects, the geniuses of Tantra are stronger than him. Some people were still envious, but there were also people who secretly admired him. Second brother, even I envy you. After all, the Spirit Province is even more ancient and vast than the Green Province. The experts here all respect you. This isn't a simple matter. Sakura said beside Lin Ling. He knew that the experts of Tantra were all climbing up in order to be respected by others. However, Lin Ling had just come to the Spirit Province and had no achievements, but he was already above tens of thousands of people. Who wouldn't be jealous of this kind of fortune? Chapter 3047. They arrived at the fairy sect. Big brother, power, treasures, reverence, worship, and so on are all fleeting. Only power is everything. Don't indulge in power. Sakura shuddered. Unlike Lin Ling, he was more ambitious and more like a god emperor, so he had always envied Lin Ling's identity. But now, he seemed to have been struck by lightning. Somehow, he seemed to have understood something. With great power, I can even kill gods. By then, why would I need the worship of these ants? Moreover, I'm an ordinary person. I have a sword that will kill anyone who disobeys me. In the end, they will all submit to me. Traversing time and space, only strength remains unchanged. I fear nothing. Lin Ling said again, which made Sakura stunned on the spot as his mind rumbled. Lin Ling smiled faintly and strode forward. He knew that Sakura must have understood something, so he naturally would not disturb him. In fact, this was indeed the case. Not only were there many dangers on the path of martial arts, but there were also many temptations. If Lin Ling enjoyed the feeling of being superior in the Tantric sect today, he could only roam freely in the world of the Tantric sect. It would be difficult for him to leave the wider world, let alone take revenge. Therefore, Lin Ling had never taken the worship of the Tantric sect seriously. Second brother, I understand. Yes. Before long, Sakura caught up with him, his expression much calmer. He also reacted very calmly to the gazes around him, as if he was looking at ordinary people. His heart had quietly fallen on the 9 states. Looks like Big Brother understands. Yes. Seeing this, Lin Ling could not help but smile. He sensed that Sakura's realm had not increased, but his understanding of martial arts had. He was probably only 1 step away from the complete ultimate martial Tao. This also meant that Sakura could easily comprehend the power of the universe, unless it was the power of rank. Lin Ling. Yes. Disciple. Yes. When they arrived at the peak, 2 figures were already waiting there. There was also a huge red-crowned crane, and they were none other than Meng Lu and Xing Xiaoyun. From the looks of it, they seemed to have been waiting for Lin Ling and Yi Fujian. This made Lin Ling frown. He originally wanted to say hello and then go home with his brother, but now it seemed that he would be delayed again. Disciple, you've kept us waiting. Let's go. I'll take you to the fairy sect today. Xing Shiyun immediately laughed out loud. What for? Upon hearing that, Lin Ling frowned. Sakura, on the other hand, looked expectant. Oh, I heard that the fairy sect is a place where beauties of the tantric sect gather. Ordinary people can't enter at all. Senior Xing Shiyun, are you really going to take us there? Of course, today I'm going to see Lin Ling's lovely wife. Xing Shiyun nodded immediately. Without waiting for Lin Ling to refuse, he dragged Lin Ling up onto the immortal crane. Master, I don't want to find a wife right now. If you don't want to find one now, it means that you will in the future. Hee, we can meet now and get to know each other better. Yes. That's right, second brother. It's not a big deal for a man to have a few more wives. I think you and the others will understand. Yes. Since his resistance was futile, Lin Ling had no choice but to follow Xing Shiyun to the fairy sect. On the red-crowned cranes, the wind was extremely ferocious. However, none of them were weak, so they were as calm as a mountain. Sakura and Xingxiu Yun were talking about how powerful the fairy sect was, while Lin Ling was cultivating with his eyes closed. In fact, he was inspecting the scabbard. He had obtained another broken sword from the Jian family, and it had been easily absorbed by the scabbard. Now, the scabbard's hostility toward Lin Ling was weakening. Moreover, after the broken sword returned, Lin Ling clearly sensed the changes in the scabbard. Its level power had reached 30%, and it was definitely not an ordinary level power. This made Lin Ling even more curious about the owner of the scabbard. We're here. Soon, Xing Shiyun spoke. The ground was covered with peach blossoms, making it look like a fairyland. Silver bell-like sounds rang from time to time, making people restless. This peach blossom forest is set up by a barrier. Don't barge in. Xing Shiyun said as he landed on the immortal crane. Who's there? Women walked out of the dazzling peach blossoms. They were extremely beautiful and looked like fairies. They would be favored by the heavens no matter where they were. I'm Xing Shiyun. Senior Xing Shiyun, please come in. Guards, inform the sect master that Master Xing Shiyun is here. The depths of the peach blossoms became lively as more and more women appeared. What was even more surprising was that not only were the young women here graceful, even the older ones were alluring. One could see that when these women were young, they were also devastatingly beautiful existences. Is that Xing Shiyun's disciple? He's so handsome. Yeah, I saw him defeat Beihan with one move last time. He was extremely cool back then. But that white-haired young man is not bad either. Silver bell-like sounds drifted out of the peach blossoms. This made Lin Ling and the rest feel as though they had come to a country of women. Among them, Lin Ling remained indifferent and wouldn't be alarmed even if the sky collapsed. Meng Lu's white hair fluttered in the wind, looking extraordinarily grave and stern. On the contrary, Sakura's personality was straightforward as he kept blinking his eyes at the beauties, making them laugh continuously. Lin Ling and Meng Lu looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. Sakura's temperament was somewhat domineering, like an ambitious and ruthless person. Therefore, whatever he was thinking in his heart, he wouldn't hide it and directly express it. Big brother Yun, are you finally willing to come and see me? At this moment, a woman who looked to be in her 40s floated down from the sky while stepping on a five-colored cloud. She wore a jade crown and was gorgeously dressed. She was also extremely beautiful. If not for the traces left on her face by time, she would definitely be an unforgettable top beauty. But even so, even though time had left its mark, it still made the woman more feminine. Sect Master. All the disciples of the fairy sect bowed to her. However, the woman ignored the gazes around her and looked at Xing Shiyun affectionately. This time, Lin Ling and the other two opened their mouths wide. They had always thought that Xing Shiyun was bragging, but now it seemed that Xing Shiyun was not lying to them. However, although Xing Shiyun was powerful and had the demeanor of an immortal, he was only an old man. On the other hand, the sect master of the fairy sect was an alluring beauty, and the two of them were not compatible at all. I'm here. Xing Shiyun's expression also became tender and affectionate. Lin Ling and the other two immediately got goosebumps. There must be a story between these two adulterers that no one else knew. How many years has it been? You've finally come to see me for the first time. The woman's eyes flickered, and she seemed very excited. Master, let's walk around. Chapter 30-48. Longnyang. Go on, take a look at Longnyang while you're at it. Xing Shiyun didn't even look at Lin Ling and continued to stare at that woman. This made Lin Ling suspect that Xing Shiyun might be using his marriage to visit his old lover. I despise you. Sakura also had this thought and secretly raised his middle finger. The three of them strolled around the peach blossom forest with nothing to do. I heard that Longnyang's fiancé is here. That's right, I saw him earlier too. Although that kid is somewhat extraordinary, I feel that he's still not worthy of Longnyang. A toad lusting after a swan's meat. Suddenly, whispers came from the peach blossom forest in front of them. Longnyang doesn't want to get married, but that kid used Lord Xing Shiyun's mouth to spread the news everywhere, making it hard for Longnyang to meet people now. That's right, if he really has the ability, then he should rely on himself to move Longnyang. Relying on Master, what kind of man is he? Now Longnyang found an excuse to go into seclusion to cultivate and doesn't want to meet that coward who relies on Master. But I don't know if Sect Master will agree or not. I think Sect Master will definitely not agree. Since he came personally, Longnyang has to meet him no matter what. The voices continued to float over and finally disappeared without a trace. Lin Ling and the other two were stunned there. This group of gossips, talking nonsense. Sakura seemed to be unable to hold it in as the veins on his forehead popped out. These women's words were too unpleasant to hear. It was as if everything they said was Lin Ling's idea. They didn't know that Lin Ling was against this marriage. Especially that, a toad lusting after a swan's meat, this kind of words undoubtedly insulted Lin Ling. Previously I was very curious what the number one beauty of Tantra was like, but now I'm suddenly not interested anymore. In his opinion, Longnyang might not like Lin Ling, but Lin Ling didn't like Longnyang either. The two of them could talk things out face to face and then cut off their marriage. However, Longnyang agreed to the marriage, but she spread rumors everywhere, as if Lin Ling was pestering her. What a shameless woman! Sakura said again. However, Lin Ling smiled instead, since it's like this, it's to my liking. Let's go and stroll around. After Master has finished hooking up with his old lover, we'll also make a trip home. Alright, I haven't been back to Qingzhou in a long time. Hearing this, Sakura instantly smiled and nodded. With their current strength, returning to the Azure province was enough to stir up a storm. I won't be going back. I'll explore the Spirit province for a bit and wait for you guys to come back. Anyway, the two of you can settle the matters in the Green province. Menglu shook his head. The three of them walked casually in the peach blossom forest, but they couldn't be bothered to look at Longnyang. However, the peach blossom forest wasn't big and they quickly walked through it. Under a peach blossom temple, a large number of women gathered there, causing the flowers to dim in comparison. Sister Longnyang. Their gazes landed on a woman. This woman wore a pink dress, revealing her fair and slender legs. Her figure was also extremely perfect. If she was a bit too fat, she would be considered fat. If she was a bit too thin, she would be considered too thin. She was simply the most perfect woman's body. Her face was also extremely attractive and exquisite to the extreme. Especially the pair of red boots on her feet, which added a touch of seduction to her. And this was the number one beauty of Tantra. Although this woman's temperament isn't much, she's really beautiful. Sakura was stunned and said in disbelief. Even Meng Lu's eyes flickered with a strange light. Everyone loved beauty, especially admiring beautiful things. This was human nature. Therefore, he didn't deny that Longyang was indeed very beautiful. This woman's talent isn't simple. Compared to Sakura and Meng Lu, Lin Ling looked very stealthily, as though he could see through Longyang's dress. His 10,000 devil eyes continued to flicker. Because he saw that Longyang's body had the same aura as his. It was the aura of the Dragon Clan. Longyang, you're finally willing to see me. At this moment, a gentle voice suddenly sounded. This made Lin Ling and the rest see that there was another person under the Peach Blossom Temple. It was a handsome young man wearing a red robe. I didn't expect that there would be a piece of rat poop among the 100 flowers. Sakura was tongue-tied. To be honest, if that fellow didn't speak, he would have ignored him. Simply a disgrace to the scenery. Meng Lu also shook his head in disdain. He was admiring a beauty when a toad suddenly ran out. This made his mood instantly turn bad. Cho Junlang, senior sister Longyang, already said that she wants to cultivate in seclusion. It's only because the sect master ordered her to come out. She didn't deliberately avoid you. A beauty beside Longyang also spoke. This woman's appearance was also very good, but she couldn't compare to Longyang. Moreover, Longyang has a fiancé. You've repeatedly pursued her, which will affect her reputation. Moreover, she's here today to see her fiancé. The woman said again. Longyang still remained silent, as though she had tacitly agreed. In fact, she already knew the young man in front of her, Cho Junlang. He was one of her most ardent pursuers. However, she really didn't have any feelings for Cho Junlang, so she planned to use her fiancé to push him away. Fiancé? Who is it? The young man seemed to have just returned to the spirit province, so he was confused. Senior brother Cho, you don't know? Right now, the spirit province is abuzz with the news. Longyang's fiancé is Lord Xing Shiyun's disciple, Lin Ling. The beauty said again, what a pity. Lord Xing Shiyun is famous, but he recruited such a disciple. This disciple came from Qin province, and with Lord Xing Shiyun's enormous cultivation resources, he's stronger than the geniuses of the various sections. We can't do anything about him. It's that brat. I've heard of him. The young man was furious. Motherfucker, even trash like you dares to fight with me over Longyang? Longyang, don't worry, I'll settle this marriage for you. I want that trash to kneel in front of me and eat shit. As expected, beauty made people lose their minds. Cho Junlang was like this. No, he's Lord Xing Shiyun's disciple. Longyang also spoke this time. He's just a coward who relies on his master. I, Cho Junlang, have traveled all over the 9 provinces and defeated countless geniuses, experts, descendants of gods, and hundreds of bloodlines. Where is trash like him? Don't worry, Lord Xing Shiyun doesn't have the final say in Tantra. In the chaos of the universe, strength is everything. But when I can step on that trash, I think Lord Tantra won't say anything. Cho Junlang's long hair danced wildly as he spoke boldly. As expected of senior brother Cho. The eyes of the surrounding beauties all flickered. Don't worry, I'll hold up your sky. Now tell me, where is that trash? Trash your whole family. But at this time, a cold shout suddenly sounded. Sakura couldn't help but speak. Who are you? Only then did everyone notice Lin Ling and the other 2 standing in the distance. I'm your grandfather. Chapter 3049. Kurishin's innate talent. How dare you? State your name. Cho Junlang stepped forward and spoke in a thunderous voice. Brother, let me do it. Lin Ling walked out slowly and looked at Cho Junlang calmly. I'm the trash you're talking about, Xingxiu Yun's disciple, Lin Ling. It's you. Chou Junlang was stunned and his expression turned even colder. You're the toad who's been bothering Longyang. What a disgrace. You're useless, but you're using your master's name to commit crimes. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. He couldn't find an excuse to teach Lin Ling a lesson. Who knew that Lin Ling would jump out on his own? Lin Ling, right? Leave now. Today's matter has nothing to do with you. Longyang immediately spoke when she saw that Chou Junlang was about to attack. Chou Junlang was a genius of Tantric Buddhism. He had represented the spirit state in the 9 states and participated in the 9 states godly genius competition. He was also a second-stage half-saint. Lin Ling was no match for him. Lin Ling was the #1 genius in the various sects, but he wasn't considered a top genius of Tantric Buddhism. It's none of your business. However, Lin Ling coldly shouted. The reason why he had stepped out was not to prove anything. Instead, it was because Chou Junlang had no enmity with him, yet he had stepped on him like trash. Because of this, he wanted to let Chou Junlang know who the real trash was. You. Longyang was speechless. Sister Longyang, ignore him. This person is relying on his master to do whatever he wants. Let's teach him a lesson. The other girls spoke one after another. They couldn't wait for Lin Ling to be taught a lesson so that he would know the power of Tantric Buddhism. You're Lin Ling, right? I heard that you're from Qing State. A country bumpkin suddenly became a star of spirit state. No wonder you're so arrogant. However, this is your first time out of Qing State. You don't know the power of the 9 states. You're too narrow-minded. Chou Junlang's body emitted a black destructive aura. It was rolling and extremely powerful. It was as if he had transformed into a god, ruling over everything. The black destructive energy bared its fangs and brandished its claws. One of the wisps landed on Lin Ling's body, causing black spots to appear on Lin Ling's arm. He couldn't wipe them off. The second layer of half-saint. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. That's right. It's a realm that you will always have to look up to. Also, I have a 3rd-grade desolate body, a divine body that comes from the underworld among the 100 bloodlines. It's the innate talent of the 72 underworld kings under the god of the underworld, the Kurishin innate talent. You should have heard of the life realm's Black River, right? It's a powerful divine river that can corrupt any great Tao, martial arts, or innate talent. Following Chou Junlang's voice, the black clouds began to transform into a river, rolling and surging. Everyone felt the pressure increase, as if the god of the underworld had arrived. This person's innate talent isn't weak. His innate talent is of the same origin as yours and mine. Most importantly, he's at the 2nd layer of half-saint. Even if he doesn't specialize in the power of ranks, with his realm and innate talent, he's above Lin Ling. Seeing this, Meng Lu said solemnly. Sakura was the same. Although he didn't like the young man's contempt, he couldn't deny that this person was indeed very strong. Lin Ling could defeat a 1st-layer half-saint, but they didn't have much confidence against a 2nd-layer half-saint. Should we inform Xingqiu Yun? Meng Lu asked hurriedly, but Sakura shook his head. If they informed Xingqiu Yun about this matter, others would mock Lin Ling even more. I advise you to inform her because Chou Junlang doesn't know how to control his strength. Longyang suddenly transmitted her voice. Shut up. Hearing this, Meng Lu and Sakura shouted angrily because this matter was caused by Longyang. If she didn't like Chou Junlang, she could have rejected him. Why did she have to use Lin Ling as an excuse? You can't block my black water. At this moment, Chou Junlang muttered to himself. He looked at his palm, where a black water droplet was rolling. It made him look extraordinarily stern. Although he looked calm on the surface, in fact, he had already activated his strongest strength. Everything was to easily suppress Lin Ling and let Longyang see clearly who was the best husband for her. The rolling black water enveloped Lin Ling's body, causing Lin Ling's body to turn jet black. It was extremely terrifying. My innate talent isn't something you can resist, Chou Junlang said indifferently. However, Lin Ling's expression remained indifferent. In fact, he had already activated his 3 desolate physiques and fused his 4 dantians. He then realized that his blackened body was slowly recovering. This person's innate talent is indeed impressive. He has the aura of the underworld, but his martial Dao comprehension seems to be very weak. Lin Ling thought to himself. With a move, he walked out of the black water. You said you came from the 9 states, but from what I see, you are just a passerby in the 9 states. When Lin Ling's voice floated out, Chou Junlang's eyes narrowed. The surrounding beauties also gasped. They wanted to see Lin Ling beg for mercy, but who knew that Lin Ling would walk out of the black water so easily? Furthermore, his blackened body was rapidly recovering. You have some ability. It seems like I need to activate more strength. Chou Junlang's hands moved rapidly. An ancient seal appeared behind him as if he had opened the door to the underworld. It doesn't matter how much strength you activate because I have several ways to defeat you. I just want to see how powerful you are, so I let you be so arrogant. Lin Ling said calmly as he looked at Chou Junlang indifferently. What arrogance? Chou Junlang raised his hands to the sky. The sky began to change. Thousands of rays of light from the spirit province were absorbed, forming a large area of black space in the sky. Shameless boasting. The girls from the fairy sect also shouted angrily. In their opinion, Lin Ling had only blocked one move by luck. However, instead of taking senior brother Chou seriously, he boasted that he had several ways to defeat him. He was simply overestimating himself. Senior brother Chou was a genius of the tantric sect. How could a genius from a sect compare to him? Blackwater River. Chou Junlang shook his head as if he didn't want to waste his breath. Strength was everything. In the sky, the billowing black space surged like worms. Its destructive aura was so terrifying that it could probably kill any first-tier half-saint. At this moment, the black water crashed onto the ground like a heavenly river. The Peach Blossom Temple was completely destroyed at this moment. Thousands of peach blossoms disappeared into the black water and turned into nothingness. Oh no! Far away, Xing Xian's expression changed. Who is so bold to attack in my territory? That one? I think it's Chou Junlang. Oh no, he's been pursuing Longnyang. I'm afraid he's attacking Lin Ling. The fairy sect master's expression also changed drastically. The two of them hurriedly flew over. They knew that Lin Ling wasn't qualified to fight against a genius of the tantric sect at the moment. Even Sakura and the others sensed the danger and knew that things were getting troublesome. They didn't know if it was too late to inform Xing Xian. I've already advised you. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.